Welcome to another episode of the Two Abdullahs with your two favorite slaves of Allah. Very bad slaves of Allah, though. What we have today, we have a treat for you today. We're going to be talking about jinns, spirits, devils, all of that stuff. We didn't have time to actually cover ruqya. We didn't have time to cover possession that much. We didn't have time to cover magic and evil eye. There's so much content on this topic. It's just unbelievable. So we have a very exciting show for you today. I hope you're just as excited as we are. And we're just going to get into it because we have a lot of content. And just as a disclaimer, this is all based on Sunni Islam. So we're going to go by the Quran and the Hadith. And it'll be clear to you that it's not just the Hadith. Some of the more, outlandish stuff you'll find in the Hadith, but it's in the Quran as well. So, but keep in mind, this is from a Sunni perspective. Okay, we're going to start with a clip of Dawah Man.
A sister who we're in touch with, who was possessed through Facebook. She was uploading her images and a shaitan fell in love with her, tracked her down, has possessed her, and destroyed her life as a result of it. And yes, it is true, brothers and sisters, the shayateen can fall in love with you in the exact same way that the humans can fall in love with you. And what's dangerous about the shayateen is that, and who come from the jinn, the evil jinn rather, is that they can see you, but you can't see them. And I'll talk to you more about this later.
Wow, okay, that was quite a handful to start off with, where we're starting with the genies possessing women through online Facebook pictures.
So, just as a disclaimer, we know that Dawah Man, Imran bin Mansur, is definitely seen as out there, but he does have quite a popular following, over 200,000 subscribers on Nasiha sessions on his YouTube channel. This guy is definitely, on the right of Salafis. He's definitely Salafi through and through, but we're going to show you that this is not just Dawah Man. These are actual Islamic beliefs that come from the primary sources. Okay, do you want to just go through this?
Yeah, so before we go through the list, just to give you an idea that this is going to be a very lighthearted, fun stream. And one of the reasons why we chose this topic now is in the recent past few months, we were talking about slavery, hudud, blasphemy, apostasy, and then the whole Yasir Qadi Quran thing. So we figured, we've been talking about a lot of negatives, we should bring something lighthearted. And I kid you not, like just me and Samir trying to get this presentation together, we were just laughing. It was so funny. So we'll go through the Genie superpower list. So genies are made from fire. They are invisible. They can shapeshift, so they can become snakes, dogs, some other animals, or even insects at times. They can teleport. They can literally go from one place instantaneously. This happened with the Queen of Sheba and her throne. Then they can fly in space, because remember, they do fly in space to the seventh heaven to snatch the inspiration from Allah, and then the stars chase them. So yeah, they fly in space. They can possess humans. We will see videos of that, ruqya services and whatnot. Big shout out to Hasana ruqya services. Jinns are actually construction experts, and they can make the most imaginative buildings and structures. Solomon had them do them for him. Again, they're war veterans from Solomon's army as well. They live long AF, which there are reports of jinns that live thousands of years. Okay.
Even that's a question asked to Islamic scholars: do jinns die? And they have to answer it because it's not indicated anywhere in the Quran or Sunnah how long jinns live.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where I read, but there was this one narration or one scholarly opinion that one of the jinns from the time of Solomon, the big jinn, is still alive. So I'm like, okay. In regards to peeing in ears, this is referring to the Satan peeing in your ear, sleeping in your nose when you don't wake up at Fajr. Flee with farts. This happens when the azan is said, and then Shaitan suddenly passes wind and flies away, so he doesn't hear the adhan. This is quite a ironic hadith. But one thing else is like these superpower genies, you'd expect they'd be doing these amazing, wondrous, miraculous works, but all they seem to do is just pester us little pesky humans. But what's interesting is their diet. They eat dung, animal droppings, leftover from bones, and food that you don't say Bismillah on. This just gives you an idea that this is literally, I kid you not, this is a comedy book. You can make a comic out of this.
It's a comedy book today, but back then it wasn't. Okay, so we've already discussed. Oh yeah, go ahead. You can explain this.
Yeah, so we talked about if you say azan, then the genies will pass a wind and run away, and the shaitan does. The dua for going in the washroom, actually, there's a hadith that says that one of the only things that shelters the genies from seeing the nakedness of the son of Adam is this dua of saying Bismillah. And there's this actual dua in Arabic that I still remember somehow from like, 10 years ago. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubusi wal khaba'is.
Allahumma janib shaitan wa janib shaitan ma razaqtana.
Yeah, like protect us from like the satans and the bad satans in the thing, and make dua before having sex.
Yeah, that's the one I still remember. Allahumma janib shaitan. I must have used that one a lot.
Because they say if you don't, then like the Satan will influence the child and he'll come out with defect or some as disobedient or something. This one's funny. Kill snakes. Actually, like we said, they're shapeshifters. Genies can become snakes, and then you will actually have to tell what if it's a true genie or a true snake. You have to yell at the snake, "Are you a genie?" and give him 3 warnings. If he doesn't reply, you kill him. If that's an evil zin. Reading Quran, Surah Nas, Surah Falaq. So black magic and jinns, they literally directly mention the jinns whispering bad thoughts into humans. And apart from that, there's also Surah Ayat al-Kursi that you're supposed to recite when you have these issues, or just generally Surah Baqarah. I remember, now this is what's interesting. When I was younger, back in my Salafi days, right, and I still had this one aunt that the whole family says she's into the genie black magic stuff. And there was a rumor about her doing it on us, and it kind of like made us paranoid. So I actually played Surah Baqarah every night on loudspeaker, right, like for a whole 40 days to get the genie out of the house.
I had a friend, a psychiatrist friend, who actually told me that, I mean, I helped him with this project to give out Surah, but he gave me like $1,000 or something. We bought this CD duplicated machine and everything, and he was giving out Surah Baqarah for people to play in the houses to protect them from jinns on the CD player.
Gosh, and the Lancy is good too. Then I think the spit 3 times is the one regarding the bad omen in the dream. Yeah. Okay, on the left side when you wake up. So let Samir explain the jinns in pre-Islamic Arabia, because what's fascinating, it's the history and how the thought evolved. It's so clearly and manifestly humans just trying to make sense of reality around them. So
yeah,
Samir.
Exactly. I just feel like when you look at pre-Islamic ideas about jinns, it just becomes so clear that the whole thing is just basically what Muhammad believed to be true based on pre-existing teachings of the time, or pre-existing, let's say, belief systems, right? And you know, in pre-Islamic Arabia, there's a paper called "Rehabilitating the Spirituality of Pre-Islamic Arabia." It shows you how rich the religious milieu was of pre-Islamic Arabia. They had, you know, they had the Kahin. There was the Sha'ir. The Kahin was a medium, like a shaman type of individual, you know, that helped people talk to the ancestors or the spirits, you know, communicating between the living and the dead, and, you know, making sure that the ancestors were happy. So this is sort of like a tribalistic religion. And even the poets, the Sha'ir, were considered or have thought to have got inspiration from the jinns, right? And this reminds me of when Muhammad got his revelation, and, you know, and his wife was saying, "Oh, you're not a Kahin, you know, you're not." And even the word that's used, soothsayer, is like a negative word, right? It's already been negatively influenced by the Abrahamic religions, and the bias of seeing the, you know, all of this shamanistic rituals as being sort of evil. You know, how paganism is seen as evil, even though it's really like ancestor worship and all that. And obviously, as atheists, you know, we're neutral to all of these things, but we're just looking at it from an anthropological perspective, right? We're saying, you know, the pre-Islamic values were more, you can say, tolerant to others, right? They were more like pluralistic, And so, just to go back to pre-Islamic Arabia, right? Jane Adelman Smith and Yuan Yazbek have reported in situations of violent death in Egypt, the spirit is often felt to have become an ifrit, which is a type of jinn, and to hover around its former habitation for a number of days, and it goes out at night begging people for a drink. It's not uncommon in other cultures for there to remain an overlap between spirits of the dead and demons, with those considered evil in life becoming potential demons. So this is not an Islamic belief. Islamic belief does not say anything about humans becoming jinns or anything like that. We're just showing you that the idea of jinns was more vast and more broad before Islam. And then Muhammad, of course, limited it to his specific understanding. And then you're going to see the Islamic explanation, right? But before Islam, it was just like a general belief, and there was different categories, and we're going to go through that. So there's 3 types of jinns: Ghul, Ifrit, and Sila. And Al-Jahiz said every supernatural creature takes diverse forms, right? They seem to appear in different forms, often animalistic, and appear and disappear like the light of a torch. And generally any jinn, listen to this, leaves a physical corpse behind when killed. And we have this poem from pre-Islamic Arabia that says, I spent the night leaning on her, waiting for her in the morning to see what I caught. Then I found 2 eyes in an ugly head, similar to the head of a cat with a forked tongue. So like, they used to believe that some of the dead, like they would see something, they would say this must be the corpse of a jinn. So just imagine, pre-Islamic Arabia, this is what they used to believe. They used to believe all of these things. And now we're going to go over to jinns in Islam. Should I keep going?
Yeah, well, what you can see on the screen here is you took a quote from the exorcist tradition in from Bilal Phillips. One thing I wanted to mention out that Dr. Bilal Phillips actually did his PhD in exorcism in Islam. So he is the Genie Don, the Genie expert, okay, of the Shayukh. But from his book, as Samir, you can read out the quote for me.
Yeah. Ibn Taymiyyah said, no one in any of the Muslim sects denies the existence of jinn or that Allah sent Muhammad to them. So, the funny thing is, I remember the story. I'm not going to mention. There was a Muslim guy I was debating with on Facebook. And I'm like, you don't believe in this, like this stuff? And he's like, no, I don't believe in it. I'm like, it's in the Quran. He's like, oh, yeah, I believe in it. And he had to change he had to believe in it. It's like a theological compulsion. You have no choice.
Before we go forward, I just wanted to say one thing, that a lot of people will try to say that jinns or genies are metaphors and they're not actually beings, and Allah using them as some weird storytelling method. But the problem is that the genies are actually tied in with literal historic events that are tied in with Quranic revelations, and they're recorded extensively in Sirah books. So no, they are definitely not just metaphorical beings. In fact, you will see extensively throughout the Quran and literature affirms them as being actual beings that worship Allah and that can affect us and the environment around them. So what we'll go first is, what are jinns made up of? So we see in Surah Hijr, verse 27, and Surah Rahman, Allah says that we created, and the jinn we created before from scorching fire. And then he says, and he created the jinn from a smokeless frame of fire. So you see here that Allah created jinns from fire, but it's smokeless. That's one thing we see. And this ties in back to the incident of Iblees, where when Allah asked him to prostrate to Adam, Iblees used his creation from fire as an objection, saying that he's created from something more fierce like fire, whereas Adam is only made from clay, and hence the whole saga continued. I just wanted to point that. Let's move forward and see what's up next. This is very, very, very important. And I actually didn't realize this for a while back. I was just reading the Sirah again 2 years ago. We're just showing 2 versions of this. This is extensively recorded in Ibn Asaq, Tafsir Ibn Kathir's Sirah as well, but we're just using Tabari's volume 6, page 117 to 119. I'm just gonna go to my site so I can read it clearly.
Yeah. So when Prophet Muhammad left Taif, and he went to returned to Makkah, when he was at Nakhla, in the middle of the night to pray. As God has said, a number of jinns passed by. Muhammad ibn Ishaq said he was told there was 7 jinn from Nasibin of Yemen. They listened to him, and when he had completed his prayer, they went back to the people to warn them, having believed and responded to what they have said.
Yeah. So what happened here is the psychological thing that's needed, very important to highlight. Muhammad goes to Taif. Muhammad is upset. Muhammad is not happy the way people of Taif reacted to his message. In fact, they stoned him, pushed him out of the city. Muhammad is sad, and he is like, he doesn't know what to do. He's desperate, and then suddenly, nobody believes Muhammad. But who believes Muhammad after being rejected by Taif people? The genies, of course. So you can see that how a mind could confabulate this genie explanation to fill in the void of this rejection that was created by the people of Taif and Makkah, constantly mocking Muhammad. And as you can see on the right side, it gives into more detail where he goes into the market of Uqaz. And then here's what I'm going to read. So at the same time, a barrier was put between the devils and the news of the heaven. Fire commenced to be thrown at them. The devils went to their people, who asked them, "What is wrong with you?" They said, "A barrier has been placed between us and the news of heaven, and fire has been thrown at us," the shooting stars. They said, "The thing which has put a barrier between you and the news of heaven must be something which has happened recently." The genies fly eastwards, and they come across the Prophet at a place called Nakhla. And near that market, he was offering Fajr prayer with his companion. So these genies then actually hear Muhammad recite the Quran, and they go to themselves, "By Allah, this is the thing which has put a barrier between us and the news of the heavens." Then they went to their people and said, "Oh people, we've heard this Quran," and Surah Jinn was revealed. As you can see, the whole story surrounding this, where the genies are flying, and then they're like, "Oh, we can't eavesdrop on the angels anymore. I wonder what happened." And then they find this man just kind of praying in this place alone in the morning, early hours of the morning, and he's reciting these chants, and the genies are like, "Oh my God, that explains it all. That must be it." Like, it's so absurd and so self-serving.
I have a little bit more to say about that. I'm gonna wait for the slides because there's more to this than just the
story. Yeah.
So the funny thing I remember from the story is that I remember reading a hadith. I don't have the reference right now, where the companions were worried. They're looking for Muhammad. Like, "Where's Muhammad? Where's Muhammad? We can't see him." And then they found him coming back at night in the desert. And they're like, "Where were you? Like, we were looking all over for you." And he's like, come with me. He shows them a campsite where there's like fire pits or whatever. He's like, "You see these fire pits? That's from the Jinn."
Yeah.
The Jinn.
I think we have that hadith forward later on, but yeah, like just randomly these jinns come to him.
So I thought this was very interesting, and when I was doing research for this, I think this is a very important thing to understand when you're studying jinns. And this hadith about the heaven being blocked, I want you to keep that in mind. Prophet Muhammad saw Kahins as competition, because you will see just how haram he made it, talking to a Kahin. In pre-Islamic Arabia, these Kahins were considered people that you go to if you need, for example, like an oracle, for example, right? But he wanted to be the exclusive one dealing out with the truth, right? Because there's prophets and then angels, and then it goes to Allah. Whereas from Kahins talk to jinns, and they get access to otherworldly information, right? So Muhammad said, actually Muawiyah said, "I said, Messenger of Allah, there were things we used to do in the pre-Islamic days. We used to visit Kahins." Whereupon Muhammad said, "Don't visit Kahins." Okay? So basically he didn't like it. He didn't like them going to Kahins. Then they had a question. I asked Messenger of Allah, "The Kahins used to tell us about the unseen, and we found them to be true." So now this is a test of his prophethood. People always say that, when Ibrahim died, his son, and the moon eclipsed, he said, "Oh no, the moon doesn't eclipse for me. It was just the death of a normal man." And people are like, "Wow, see, he's a true prophet. He's telling the truth." But let's look at this. Let's see if he got it right here. He said, they're asking him, "How come jinns know the truth sometimes?" Now, any logical person would say, well, obviously once in a while, any fortune teller is going to get things right. The question is, are they right more than average? Like, a little bit of skepticism will show you that they're just making things up, but that's not what he said. He said, no, there's a worth pertaining to truth which a jinn snatches and throws in the ear of his friend and makes an addition of 100 lies to it. So these guys are convinced Kahins are telling the truth, and they're asking Muhammad to explain it because he's a competing truth teller now. He's giving them a different narrative, and he's like, oh yeah, but the jinns add 100 lies to it on top of the truth they tell you, so you don't know what's.
I thought here's something that's very important. I know that that Allah cannot let out divine wisdom or divine inspiration to any human apart from through angels, right? There's verses in the Quran about that. But then, from what it seems here, that the Kahins had partial access, a backed VPN tunnel into the. So they were like hacking some bit, and then the firewall would kick in and boot them off the server. It's
hackers. Jinns are actually modern day hackers, right? They're anonymous. They're trying to get the truth out, but now there's a new firewall installed and the VPN's not working anymore.
But what's interesting is why is Allah's security so shady? Like, come on, you can just stop the jinns from hearing anything at all.
and this is where Muhammad now is changing the narrative. He's trying to tell people, well, they used to do that, no longer anymore. Now Allah's sealed it off, right? Do you want to explain this?
Okay, so here's what the details about this is. So one of my favorite things I like talking about is shooting stars chasing genies who eavesdrop on angels. So essentially what happens is, to give a summary, is these genies used to go up in heaven, sit around the 6th and 7th heaven, and they'd listen to what Allah was telling the angels, or the angels were talking about amongst themselves. Then the genies would listen, and then they'd run away. And they'll give that one thing they heard to the Kahin, who would add 100 lies to it and make it something else. But what was fascinating, how did Allah scare the genies away from listening to his heavenly conversations? By having the angels throw stars as missiles or stones at them. So what we see here in Surah 67, verse 5, it's and we have decorated the nearest sky with lamps and have made them devices to stone the devils and prepare from them the punishment of hell. The word here is rujuma lishayatin, which is rajam, stoning the devil, right? So this is the heavenly angel stoning the Jamarat alternative.
And this is an interesting verse as well, because it's actually an intersection of dunya and like the unseen, ilm al-ghaib, right?
Yeah.
What it's saying is, Allah is describing وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا. He's saying the sama dunya, the nearest heaven, meaning the star, is decorated with stars. So in one swoop, he's defined what the sama dunya is, because he said there's stars in it, right, with lamps. So these lamps, what are these lamps? So obviously it's describing something that they were looking at. It's not just talking about, like all unseen thing. It's an intersection of this reality and the other reality. So this is an example of how they try to use, they try to explain these things and give them otherworldly meanings, where obviously we know shooting stars are not chasing devils. There's no devils in space. They didn't even know what space was.
Yeah.
We'll get to space genies though.
Yeah, it's just, it's meteorites, just to give you an explanation, that it's so dumb, this explanation. And why it doesn't make sense? Because Muhammad says it goes up to the 6th and the 7th heaven where the genies are sitting. And if you read Surah 72:8, it literally says, and we sought to reach the sky, we found it with stern guards and flames, and that we used to sit at places. So these genies were literally up in space or heaven or whatever, hiding. It's literally like what? Like a video game, like a tactical action espionage video game. I gotta listen to what the angel's saying, avoid detection. Oh shit, the alarm's off. Oh, there comes the star. I gotta book it. But even actually, when you actually see from the space station, or that they occur in the atmosphere, entry time in the Earth. They're not even in space, honestly. They're like space rocks that burn up so they enter the atmosphere, and the friction creates a streaking tail, and that's what they call as shooting stars. But anyways, what do we have here again? So I heard Allah's messenger saying the angels descend, the clouds, and mention this or that matter decreed in heaven. The devils listen stealthily to such a matter, come down to inspire the soothsayer. The latter would add 100 lies to it. I think I'll take a break. It's getting a little too funny, but we should take a call now. And
yep.
So I heard Allah's messenger
hello,
saying, the clouds.
Oh, you might want to mute your YouTube channel. You have to mute it. I'm gonna mute you for 1
We
second.
can hear ourselves.
So if you're calling into the show, please mute your microphone first. Sorry, please stop playing the YouTube video. Otherwise, you're gonna get an echo, right? While we're waiting for a caller, I posted the link in the chat. I'm gonna continue with the slides.
Okay.
We already explained what this means. We already explained that. Shut the door. So Allah has created different types of jinns. This is Islam QA. Among them are some that can take on different forms, such as dogs and snakes, were flying winds with wings, and some who can travel and rest. Okay, all right. Like, what does that even mean? Okay, there's two types of jinns. They fly and they don't fly.
Okay.
What the hell? Okay.
All right. And then the jinns are three types. The one has wings and they fly through the air. Okay, the wings one, they fly through the air, but there's the genies that fly through space, man. They don't need wings.
There's no such thing as space in Islamic theology. That's the problem, right?
And the type that looks like snakes and dogs. A type that stops for rest and then resumes its journey.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's stopping genies.
Okay, so now we're on the second topic. We're gonna take callers if there's any callers, and while we're waiting for callers, we're gonna keep discussing. Do call in. I have the link posted.
All right.
You don't even need a camera. Basically, you need microphone. Yeah. Okay, so jinns and animals.
Okay, so this was interesting, and I remember this. My mom used to tell me, my aunties used to tell me throughout, do not go out often after the night is still. Allah has animals which He sends out. Anyone who hears the barking of a dog or the braying of a donkey should seek refuge with Allah from the accused Shaitan. They see what you do not see. Now that's very, very interesting. So what essentially being said that if you hear a donkey bray or a dog bark, they're doing that because they saw a genie or a Satan or something. That is like, that makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. And what's interesting is like this was so emphasized when we were kids that especially at night, we would the dua. There's a book called The Fortress of the Muslim. Had a special dua that if you hear a donkey or a dog bark, that you should recite this dua or something.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then we would be told by our parents to come instantly as soon as the Maghrib Adhan starts. The genies are let out after sunset. So we'll go to that hadith later as well. But yeah, that's something
I found it.
Yeah. Okay.
Messenger of Allah said, if you hear the braying of a donkey, seek refuge in Allah, but it has seen a devil.
What's the dua? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a regular A'udhu Billah standard fair dua. But yeah, that's pretty hilarious. So again, what we see is they're trying to, I don't know, like a donkey, really? Like a donkey and a dog? Like, does anyone who has dogs know the dogs are trying to communicate, right? They're trying to basically give us a message. Hello, Mike. Mike Tia, hello.
Hello, Mike.
Hello. You remember me?
Yes. How's it going, brother?
How you doing, guys?
Good.
I haven't followed the whole thing because I was working. I'm sorry. But I think the subject, you're talking about jinns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know your opinion on. Do you think it's most of it is not really coming from ignorance? Because I was thinking about, growing up in my country, sometimes in my school, and I had some people when they were having some, what they call, I think it's epileptic crisis. They would send like a group of people. They were like exorcists, but we don't use the word exorcist because that's more in the Christian world, I guess. But those people would come and recite certain verses on those people, and suddenly they felt better. So I was quite impressed by that. And coming to find out later, when you become an adult and you're reading a lot of things and articles, you tend to understand more what it's coming from. And that's just one simple example. You can have another one again, like sleep paralysis, for example. I know me, my friend, I don't know for you guys, but I know my friends, when we hanging out on Saturday night and we're talking about these things, they talk about sleep paralysis and they're like, this demon just raped me last night. I'm like, what? They do rape human beings through sleep paralysis? So I'm really confused about it. And when I read articles recently about it, because again, in order to get out of ignorance, you're going to have to study. Soon as you study, you know more. But if it's blind faith, you will not know. And I read articles. I'm not sure if it's how accurate the information in that article was, but it was saying that it's basically just your brain that, you know, paralyzes your body when you're sleeping, when you are in rapid eye movement or something like that. And you're not supposed to be awakened at that time when you open your eyes. So there is no way for you to get out of that, and you have some hallucination because, again, you're not supposed to be awakened. You're supposed to be sleeping since your body is completely, you know, paralyzed. And that was the explanation that I got. And ever since then, I know this, and I'm not scared of it. When I have this sleeping paralysis, I don't have to recite Fatiha or whatever. And all of a sudden, it goes away by itself after 1 minute or even less than that. So I think most of it probably is coming from ignorance. I don't know what is true in that, because like I said, again, I've seen some impressive stuff. So I'm not going to totally deny the fact that maybe there was some supernatural stuff happening out there, because it was quite amazing what I've seen. And I know some people can also confirm that. But just for this part, for this portion of the conversation, I wanted to have your take on it.
Okay, thank you for your question. Abdullah Gondal, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, jinns and beliefs in jinn possessions come from places of ignorance, and he's absolutely correct. There is no reason, absolutely no reason, to believe that something like a jinn possession or spirit possession exists. In fact, almost 100% of the time, you can put the person in a neurological setting and you can tell what is wrong. Most people like these have schizophrenia or epilepsy. Actually did a whole presentation on temporal epilepsy and detailed, and if you watch that, can make a lot of connections. I'll just briefly go through that. What ends up happening is a lot of the times these people will hear voices. Now, if you're living in the 21st century and you're told you're schizophrenic and your brain and your ventricles in your midbrain are enlarged and there's atrophy in neurons, you can understand it. But back then in the 7th century, some person is having vivid auditory visual hallucinations, they would more likely take that as a possession of a demon or attributed to something supernatural and whatnot. Now, why do Ruqya services work or seem to work? Now, a lot of time when you see the Ruqya service, you'll see these people yelling, repeating verses over and over again. And a lot of people, schizophrenics or epileptics, when they have these episodes, they become very sensitive to light and sound. You will see this also with the just basic traumatic brain injury and concussions as well. In fact, Muhammad used to be sensitive to light and sound and go into the cave as well. So when they keep reciting these verses loud and loudly, they're causing a stress response in these individuals. And what's happening is a person will be like, oh, the sensitivity is going, and they're losing their mind. So in neuroscience, we know when a stress response happens, your prefrontal cortex, let's say, has not enough control, and you lose your higher executive function, and you become, let's say, a slave to your midbrain and instinctual responses. And in that time, you're not reasoning, so your brain's emotional part's taking control. So if you keep yelling these people, these obscure words in Arabic in a microphone or spitting at them while they're already stressed out, they will keep acting more and more bizarre. And that's why this is the way Ruqya service handle these things is mostly very bad and abusive towards the patient and the long term. And it's almost always a misdiagnosed mental illness that is being treated. And in fact, I have had some family members who've fallen into this exact trap. We will talk about that later. We'll just go on and maybe see another question. Or actually, did that answer your question?
There's one more thing I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about how the brain confabulates the devil on your chest. And
yeah. So just to give brief, very simplified explanation of sleep paralysis, there's part of the brain stem which controls mid and lower brain stems control your sleep cycles, right? So this is involuntary stuff, but it is communication with higher cortical structures, especially the parts on the outermost layer of your brain, which are responsible for human exceptional cognitive functions, right? Now, what ends up happening is, this is very simplified, is your lower brain thinks you're still asleep, so it keeps the heart rate low, it keeps your breathing and your muscle diaphragm low, but because of a chemical imbalance or miscommunication, your upper brain your cortical structures higher up are fully awake. So what ends up happening is you're seeing these, you're still dreaming, and your visual cortex is still dreaming, but because your upper brain is awake, it will start projecting that in front of you. Why do you have sensations of not being able to breathe? Is because, like I said, the lower brain is controlling the diaphragm from expanding too much, or heart rate, and you can't breathe either. So your breathing isn't under control. So you feel like you're gonna die and being choked by a genie and whatnot. Why you see the apparitions? Like I said, you're still dreaming. Your visual cortex is still projecting the dreamy state into your brain, but then your brain is also awake. So whatever you're dreaming is actually appearing in your visual field of view. This is one common explanation. But again, like, this is very, very simplified. And I did omit details just to make it simpler for people to understand.
Should I show that exorcism clip right now?
Yeah, that would be cool. Just people understand what abuse and what we're talking about.
So just keep in mind, just imagine this woman has some sort of psychological issues, and look how, like, it's just honestly, it's disturbing to watch this. I don't even know if I'm going to play the whole clip.
يعلمون الناس السحر سحر 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 يعلمون الناس السحر يعلمون الناس السحر سحر 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 يعلمون الناس السحر يعلمون الناس السحر بالله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله إن كنتم تؤمنون.
Okay, I'm just gonna
just pause it. But also one other thing I wanted to point out, that like I said, you go into details. There's dissociative personality disorder, and I'll just give you an idea that so people that suffer a lot of trauma in their childhood, they can end up having multiple personalities. Some people, if you've seen the movie Split, that guy had 20 something, but this can go in the hundreds, and I've seen people with thousands of multiple personalities, right? These personalities, and this is fascinating, that these personalities have different accents. Some of them have different memories. Some of them have different abilities, where one personality will have weak eyesight, the other will have perfect vision. Or one personality can sing and the other can't. One can read a certain language, one can't. Now, again, back in the day, if you were to show this to humans living thousands of years ago, they'd be like, oh, this is just genies possessing the person. He's changing tongues. How could this person know? But now we understand this is all completely naturally explained, and these are just disorders of the brain. That was just one thing I wanted to point out. And like you saw, like, ruqya is abuse. Now, one thing I wanted to, before we move on to the exorcism, is very important, is exorcisms from other faiths that are contradicting to Islam also work. Okay, you can see movies made about the exorcism of Emily Rose and whatnot, and the people react the same way, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if there are two contradictory, or even 3-4 contradictory people using 3-4 contradictory different books as the word of God to do exorcisms, and all of the people who are the victims here, or the possessed people, are reacting in a similar fashion, points that there's something more fundamental that is at play here. And all of these people seem to have misunderstood this as their own version of supernatural genie drama BS.
You know, I remember Muhammad Gilan talking about this. I couldn't find the clip, but he has a clip, and he's a neuroscientist. He's a Muslim doctor, PhD candidate, and he actually said, when someone asked him in one of his episodes, what do you think about exorcisms? And he was like, just so annoyed about this. He's like, this is so dumb, stupid. And he's like, do you notice it's always women who are possessed? Do you notice that? Why is that? Why is it always women? And he was irritated, because obviously he understands the whole thing about the brain and how it, you know, misfires and doesn't work properly and all that, right? So
I'll give one quick amazing example, is the alien hand syndrome. People actually have a hand that has a complete will of his own. Okay, so they'll be eating with their right hand, and they're in public, their left hand will be like taking their pants off, and they wouldn't even realize it. They'll be walking around, and then suddenly their left hand will start choking them, and they have to fight their own hand to stop from killing themselves. Is this possession? Obviously not. It is very well understood in neuroscience. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, these people, if we're shown these things back in the past, it makes sense that these people would understand these to be genies and possessions and whatnot.
Okay, I'll take one more question. We have Ziad, who called us before, and he said he's going to be on topic. So Ziad, hi, how's it going?
I'm good.
Hey,
How are
Zed.
you guys?
Okay, what's up, bro? What's your question?
Okay, so my question is, how do you guys explain things like voice changes, people like, I'd say like moving unnaturally when they're possessed? Like, this is something I've seen with my own eyes. Like, I've seen this, I've seen people do ruqya, I've seen this happen in front of my eyes. I've seen my family members have seen it. Like, the voice changes, like literally it's like a woman sounds like a man, man who sounds like a woman, sounds like a hissing. So do you have any explanation for all of that?
So we were just talking about this as well. Like I said, the example of multiple personalities and them knowing different languages. Also, that sometimes these type of personalities only pop up in times of dire stress. Then, apart from the voice changing, the voice changing could be just the deepening of the larynx as well. As for extra strength, yes, this is very common because when you're actually having a stress response and you're actually having a psychotic break or like a schizophrenic episode, when you're on adrenaline, your body will extend extremely muscular force to the point where you will see a 5-year-old kid being able to throw an adult across the room. I've seen this too. It's not anything unusual. It's totally understood. Your muscles actually, if you're dying, can push up a whole boulder worth a ton. It's just that they will rupture completely after, but you will live on. The fact is, these certain hidden powers or outbursts pop up in these due to these mental disorders at times. So, for example, I can explain, like, for if somebody's having a seizure, right? There's this strip. It's, I think, it's the strip of prefrontal sulcus, I believe, is for the motor movements, right? And the one before is for the sensory. And it's a homunculus, so you have like a strip where everything and part of your body correspond to its in use is attached. And if you have a seizure that starts, and the seizure then starts spreading to that part where the motor neurons are, that's when you start people seeing erratic movements, right? I can go into much more deep depth where like only you'll see a flexor or like punching or like movements from like upper motor neurons, and lower motor neurons you'll see flaccidity and whatnot, but that's another thing. Same with the language center. Like I said, it's all in the brain. Actually, a lot of people don't know that if they live in multilingual societies, the subconscious brain is almost always constantly picking up on words that they don't even know or notice. So yeah, like I've seen this. In fact, you can see this if you want to go get a good comparison. You can go to a mental institute of schizophrenics or epileptic patients, and you will see this exact same thing everywhere. So I don't think there's anything good.
That doesn't explain voice changing, like from a man to a woman.
It does. Like I said, I'm
No,
not
it does
gonna.
not. I have seen. If you have seen it with your own eyes, then you should know what I'm. It's not the same thing.
Yes, buddy. Like I'm saying, voice changes are tied to. If I want to go into detail, I can start opening the
Okay, so
left
a man
brain,
can just magically
broca's and
sound like a
Wernicke's
woman,
area.
and like the
Sorry, 1 second. I want to add to Abdullah Gondal's response. There's a book I read when I was in university. I don't remember what it's called now, but it was about a woman who had multiple personalities. She had 17 different personalities. And what's that movie, the Hollywood movie with the guy that has
Split. It's called
Split. Yes. That's a good popular example of that. So now this lady who had multiple personalities, some were male, some were female, she would blank out. So she would actually like suddenly realize she's in the middle of the street and she's like, how did I get here? What am I doing? And she had another personality in her head that would take over at certain times. And what was the cause of all of this? Was traumatic and repeated sexual abuse and physical abuse done on her as a child. So what happened was her mind created a protection mechanism. It created additional identities to protect her. And so what would happen is these identities would come out and she would just blank out. She wouldn't even. So the brain has its weird ways of when it's trapped, when it's cornered, it tries to, protect itself. And so even in an adult life, now the problem is obviously it was maladapted, because what happened was her life was a mess because she didn't know what was going on. She would appear in places. She didn't know how she got there. She had different personalities. She had like different voices, even different, like it was like different people in her brain. And eventually with the therapist's help, she managed to bring out the other personalities, talk to them, make peace with them, and find a way of feeling protected. And eventually they all went away. There was no exorcism needed. It was just therapy needed for her to recognize her trauma, to deal with it, and to find a way to feel safe again. And that was
about floating?
What?
Floating in the sky, like
you've seen people float in the sky? You're saying you saw people float in the sky?
Like not in the sky, but like few inches. Like it's
like David Blaine kind of floating, like the guy goes on YouTube and he floats 2 inches and people think he's doing magic. That type of floating?
No, not 2 inches, but like I've seen it with my own eyes. I don't have like a video of it, but I've seen it with my own eyes.
Okay. Like I said, that's very anecdotal, and I mean, I used to be in magic a lot. I'll just let you know that I have books from Chris Angel and all that. I don't think they float. There's a lot of tricks involved.
You know what? There's a guy.
I saw it with my own eyes. It wasn't some magic show here, okay?
Yeah, no, I know that's the point.
I honestly don't know how to explain that. If you saw that, there's a $1 million paranormal challenge by James Randi. $1 million. He has a competition. I think it might be closed now, but he had a competition where he said anyone that has any sort of paranormal experience, whether it's talking to jinns and the jinn will tell you what card I have in my hand, magic, anything, floating in the air, anything that cannot be explained by science, he will pay you $1 million. And time after time after time, every single one of them, when they were in a controlled situation where people are watching them and there's cameras, they couldn't do it. The jinns left them. The magic went away. The supernatural powers of talking to the dead or whatever it was, it always failed. Because when you actually apply skepticism to these claims, they fall apart. I don't know what you saw. I honestly don't know how to explain it. I don't know. I really don't know. But like what I know is how the world normally operates and how the world behaves. And I know that these things just don't happen. And if they did happen and you saw it, I'm honestly sorry. I don't know how to explain it.
Okay,
but
and then how do you explain the fact that it works? Like the people who get ruqya or get the exorcism done afterwards, a lot of them are fine.
Placebo effect.
What do you mean placebo effect? So their epilepsy, their schizophrenia gets magically
normally cured? Okay, here's the thing. If you were to go and actually give solely ruqya treatment to these people, they won't be fine. That's one thing. And secondly, I feel like it's very anecdotal at this point. And I don't like, what I will ask you is ruqya also works from competing religions. Buddhist ruqya works, Christian ruqya works for Christians, Hindu ruqya works for Hindus. Are they all okay and correct, or is there something more fundamental that they all missed?
There's also speaking in tongues. Christians speak in tongues. They're possessed by the Holy Spirit, and they do all these things. There's church services where the guy does this, and people fall down from the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of different people that have experienced such things. I forgot my point now. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. I remember yesterday I was talking to a Somali ex-Muslim girl, and she said that she has people in her family that, her name is Noon. And she said she goes in Australia. She's in Australia to the psychiatric ward. And these people who thought they had jinn possessions, they got medical help. They took antipsychotic drugs and the jinns went away. Yep. And she said they think it's the dua. And I'm like, well, I don't care if they think it's dua as long as they keep doing the medicine. And she's like, yeah, but the problem is, they don't care about the medicine. They think the dua is what's causing the effect, even though they're taking medicine for now. She's not sure if they're going to continue doing it. So, I mean, I do appreciate your question, and thank you for keeping it on topic. I really do appreciate that. I honestly don't know what else I can add to this, though. I don't know what else we can say. If you believe, you believe. There's nothing we can do to convince you. All we can say is try to be a little bit more skeptical. Try to, like, for example, someone told me that if I see a jinn exorcism, I will believe in Allah again. And I'm like, that's a weird way of proving Allah exists.
Yeah.
But like, okay, why do you think that? He's like, yeah, at the experience, you hear people talking in Chinese. I'm like, okay, did you record it? I would love to hear this Chinese and record it and play it back to a
Mostly
Chinese
gibberish. Yeah.
speaking person. I want to hear, is this real Chinese he's speaking? Or does it just sound like Chinese? And he's like, I don't have a recording, but I'm like, I would love to see that, because as a
there's
materialist,
one thing that happens with a lot of these psychotic breaks, especially with schizophrenia and epilepsy, is something called clanking, where during or after a episode, the person will start speaking gibberish or in tongues or words or sounds that don't really make sense. But to a person who's not informed, feels like, oh, he's speaking a different language.
I would love to see evidence. Honestly, like my skeptic, I have an atheist friend who was one of the guys that helped me to leave Islam. And he told me, I would love for there to be evidence of ghosts or like spirits, or like, as a materialist, this is the only world that we have. And this, to me, this makes the best explanation. But if you have evidence of something else, I would love to know. I would love to be like a ghost in the next life or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not like the reason we don't believe it is because we haven't seen sufficient evidence for these claims. If there is sufficient evidence, one day, like I've heard one Pakistani guy tell me his walls were bleeding, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. His walls were bleeding. Maybe some animal died in there. I don't know. Like, but like, you know,
I've heard that too.
Yeah, there's probably
just one thing I wanted to add is humans have a tendency to levitate towards supernatural explanations before they'd go to the rational ones, especially.
You have a tendency to block people.
Excuse me, that's uncalled for. Sorry, have a good day, man. That's just not appropriate.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, there's a couple more callers. Should we take a few more slides?
Where were we at actually? Did we start
Black dogs?
Oh, okay. So we've done the Kahins. Oh, jinns and animals, right? Yeah, we can actually take I think actually just for one thing that Ziad was mad about, we actually let him speak twice.
Yeah.
The first time he was off topic, we let him speak. He brought up a completely irrelevant topic that was polemical, and we addressed that. Then we gave him another chance to speak up again. We were having a good discussion, and I was actually enjoying the questions he's bringing up. And then suddenly, out of the blue, he just said something so stupid again. Like, whatever. But like I said, trolling is not appreciated. We will be very nice to you as long as you're nice. We welcome discussion. If you have any points that you want to make, or you feel like we said something, please do it in a cordial manner and not in these little weird ways. I mean, I know that your beliefs are being challenged, or that, like, if you're cornered, it doesn't mean that you say that, oh, you like blocking people. No, we were actually we were being so charitable. We let you on our show twice. Okay,
hold on. Listen. I can block whoever I want to. Seriously, I don't have to explain to you. Okay, I don't have to explain to anybody. I don't need to justify to you whether I let you on my show or not. I don't need to justify to you whether I talk to you on Twitter. I don't need to justify any of these things. This is my life. I'm doing
it out of our own niceness that we give you time to come on a show and talk and ask questions, right?
Yeah, like, you know what? Like, I don't care if you say I block people, or if I don't care. Like, I'm doing this for people that want to benefit from this. If you are one of those people that's just going to troll or be annoying or be abusive, or frankly, I just don't want to talk to you for no reason, except I just don't like you. I don't like you. I'm not going to talk to you. Bye. That's it. That's the end of it. And like Abdullah Gondal saying, like Abdullah Gondal already, after you trolled us last time, I think he didn't even want to take your call. I gave you a chance. Please don't troll. Like, this is not going to be helpful. Let's take a couple more slides, and then we'll get to the Tinkerman and Potato were waiting. Okay, so I always forget which button to click. Black dogs, a jinn, so kill them. So now we're on the topic of jinns and animals. So there's a lot of interaction between jinns and animals. I used to wonder about the whole black dog thing. I mean, that never made sense to me. Even when I converted to Sunni Islam and I read this, I'm like, this is so weird. Like, it's just superstitious stupidity. Black dog or white dog or whatever. Like a white
racist too. It's internalized racism, where almost always black is associated with negativity, Satan, black faces in Jahannam. It's so
I don't know if it's racist. I don't know.
It's not direct racist, but it's like it's internalized condition. Like, it's not explicit, but that's just my opinion on it.
So,
my opinion.
So anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna read the hadith. Blah 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 blah. If it was not that dogs were a nation among nations, then I would order that they be killed. So kill everyone among them that is all black. Right.
So that's some
messed
intense
up
xenophobia there.
That's some, I don't know, man. It's so stupid. I don't even like have any words. I'm just like so stupid. Like, and then it says there is one inhabiting a home in which they keep a dog, but the deeds are decreased by 1 kirat every day. Kirat is a large measure of good deeds, I believe, except for a hunting dog, a farm dog, or a sheep dog. Like, why is Muhammad making such blanket statements like this? Like, what if you live in a culture where you need a freaking dog? Oh no, it's okay if it's a hunting dog, but why is it okay only if it's a hunting dog? What if you just want the dog protection? What if you just want a dog because your culture has evolved and dogs actually, like, dogs sometimes save kids. Dogs
What's
sometimes
interesting is the whole backdrop to the story is the angel not entering the house because of the image and all that. And initially, Muhammad, in fact, did say kill all the dogs. And there's hadith that said that the Sahaba were killing puppies and dogs everywhere. The people in Medina who had farms and fields or whatever, they said that we need them to protect and all that stuff. So then Muhammad says, okay, have the dogs for protection, but kill all the black ones still. That's the context.
I mean, I know so many Muslim families that would love to have a dog and they just cannot do it because it's whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Another hilarious example of interaction between animals and humans, animals and jinns. So there was a companion. He entered and found a big snake coiled on the bedding, and so on and so forth. The man died and the snake died. Both of them died. They went to Allah's apostle and made a mention of him. And this is so funny. This is so funny. Imagine this. They came to Muhammad and they're like, pray to Allah that the man be brought back to life.
What?
I mean, according to them, this is Allah. Allah can bring people back to life. Muhammad, bring him back to life. And of course, he just ignored that part. He's like, yeah, ask Allah to forgive him. And then say that there are in Medina, jinns who have accepted Islam. So when you see any one of them, pronounce a warning to it 3 times. Yeah, jinn, jinn, yeah, jinn. And if it doesn't leave, then kill it. Okay, this whole thing is so hilarious. First of all, you can't bring people back to life by praying for them. No Muslim today would ever pray for someone to be brought back to life because they know you can't be brought back to life. Nobody prays for an amputee to get the arm back. Nobody prays for these things because they logically know it's impossible. So the scope of prayer is only things that you don't understand. If you don't understand the cancer in your body, you're like, I'm going to pray for it to go away because you don't understand that in 24 hours or whatever, 22 months, you're going to die. It's inevitable. There's nothing you can do. Let's say. But you're going to pray for that. But you know, if your arm is cut off, you're not going to get it back. So you don't pray for that. Why? Because logically, you know, this is not going to work. So they're asking him because they're being logical. They're like, yeah, he's a prophet of God. Bring him back to life. I mean, that's just like a side point, but I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah. But why there's... So wait, let me guess. Is the latter part referring to the jinns as in their snake form? Or okay.
You should talk to snakes, guys. It's Sunnah. The Sunnah is
so so the guy wants us, if you see a snake, like, yeah, jinn, yeah, jinn, yeah, jinn, and if it doesn't say anything, you kill it? What? Okay, take a collar or something.
Like, honestly, we're laughing about these things because people take them seriously today. If they were just like 7th century superstitions, I wouldn't laugh. I mean, I'd laugh, but I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah. They believe this stuff. They're not going to believe it today. But the problem is, people have taken the epistemologically put the Quran and Sunnah at this level where it goes above rationality, reason, and everything. Evidence.
It's super rational, bro.
Okay. We'll take
a caller and then we'll go for it. Yeah.
Hello, Thinker Man.
Hello.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. So I just want to say that I love your guys' show and I watch almost all of your videos.
Thank you.
Just keep up the good work. It's very helpful for people like me.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
You're welcome. I want to ask one question and then I want to share an experience I had which I don't have an explanation for. So first, the question is that I read the Quran in Sahih International English, but after some research, I think that the translation is very watered down. I don't think it's close to the Arabic. So do you think there's an English translation that that's the best, that represents the original in Arabic?
Which translation are you reading?
I read the Sahih International. I read it.
Okay.
I'll give my opinion first,
Yeah.
and then you give your opinion. Honestly, I think you're not gonna get it. I think Sahih International and Yusuf Ali are considered, like, Yusuf Ali is considered, in my opinion, the most classical, best translation. But the thing is, obviously, Yusuf Ali is also one of those guys that any translation is going to have an interpretation aspect, and so they're going to be projecting their understanding onto the text. There's no such thing really as a literal translation, otherwise it'll be meaningless. Sahih International is well respected as well. I don't know what academics would say. I really don't know. I think for all intents and purposes, you get the main meaning from it, and I think that's good enough for me, and that's what I go with. Abdul Gondal, what about you?
For my opinion, I would say like Sahih International does a decent job at giving a good representation, but there are instances where you'll find that some verses are on purpose watered down. But generally, it's okay. I would say I found the Pickthall's translation to be more word to word and literalist. Let's just say you can classify them almost in like the literalist Wahhabi style translations versus the new modern Muslim style translations. I've seen these two categories emerge. Then I would say Mufti Taqi Usmani's English translation is very, very well written, and it's in a very simplified form, but it's more closer to the text. But yeah, Pickthall, and then there's also the other one, Corpus Quran translation. Those are also good.
You can also like look at the tafsir. So QuranX.com, go to tafsir and hadith. If you want to know the Sunni opinion, okay? Now, because honestly, if you want to know the Quran only opinion, like, it's very, very difficult. Like, you're gonna have to be a scholar. Like, are you laughing at the comment there?
Yeah, oh my god.
Sorry, I missed a question that from before. I totally forgot. I forgot. There was a question that asked, what's the difference between jinns and shayateen? So a shayateen just a subset of jinns. So yeah, basically shayateen or devils are evil jinns, like Dawah man was saying in the beginning. Like, basically there's jinns, but jinn is a much bigger category that includes Muslim jinns. We'll talk about Muslim jinns.
Yeah, we'll talk about all sorts of jinns.
So did we answer the question?
Yeah, and there's one experience I would like to share that I went through. Okay, so before I tell you my experience, I'd like to say that I'm actually very skeptic, and I try to look for naturalistic explanations, but this was one thing in my life that I just can't find an explanation for, and I'd like to see your take on it. So basically, me and my friend, we were outside my house, and then there comes this guy. He's like very old. He has a stick in his hand, and he comes to us and he says that, do you want to see some I think he said magic or something like that, and we were like, sure. So he did a few tricks. I wasn't convinced by those, but then in the end he asked me for a piece of paper, and I had one in my wallet, and it was like half the size of my finger. So he didn't touch the paper. He said, put it in your hand. I put it in my hand, and he said, press your hand and keep it hidden. So I pressed it in my hand, kept it hidden. He put his hand over my hand, and in a few seconds that paper was white and it turned green, and on one side it was written Muhammad, and on the other side it was written Ali. So I just can't figure it out. How the hell did he do it?
I've seen an iteration of this trick by Chris Angel and a bunch of other people. What they normally do is they change, like, they make a spot appear or some writing appear, or like the card you write and sign is there, and then you close your hand and they do this and the card is in your hand. It seems to be of some of that nature. Like I said, I used to be into magic, and I don't want to spill a lot of the secrets, but like there's card tricks as well. Like, a lot of times it's a lot of the setup and it's distraction, right? So when I'm, for example, like if I'm showing you a card, like, okay, look at this card. While you're memorizing your card, I'm looking at the deck where it's broken, and I'm memorizing the card next to it. You're busy with that. I put it in, mix it. I'll give you guys a deck to mix it, and the chances that your card will be right next to the card I looked at is almost like 98%. So it'll appear as magic when I actually just look for the card I saw, and I'll find your card next to it. And an iteration, there's a different way you can throw the card ups. your car sticks to the roof and whatnot.
Yeah, honestly, like I have two friends, two of my atheist friends are both skeptics, and they're also both into magic. And the reason they love magic, again, because like I said, the same guy that said I wish there was ghosts, right? He's like, he loves magic because it's so cool, and it's all about misdirection, right? And if you want to watch magic shows on you know, you can look it up. There's a lot of the magic nowadays also has to do with very advanced props. Like there's technology, right? There's special, like one of the comments says, special type of ink that's activated by body heat. It's magic tricks and magic tricks. There's no actual jinns involved or anything like that. It's like if there was, again, James Randi will pay you $1 million to prove it, but it never.
Here's a very simple trick I used to do, and I do it every time. It's a great optical illusion, and you can make people think that, oh, there's some supernatural. Is you take a coin, like a normal coin, you put it right here, okay? And then you just put it here, and then you put your arms like a good apart, and then you just do like this. And the coin appears in your other hand and disappears from this hand, right? This is a very common trick, but what ends up happening, just all it is you do this, the coin when you're doing flies, and you just got to practice to catch it. This happens so fast that your eyes cannot see it, right?
Yeah.
So to an unsuspecting person, within you can trick them that it's magic, and you're jumping coins from one hand to the other, and you can have modified variations of these techniques where instead of the hand, you can put it in like your pocket. It comes out of your pocket, people's ears or heads. I used to do this one trick when I was younger, and this was like about like 14-ish. You used to tie like a rubber band on the inside with a paper clip, right? And you stretch it under a full sleeve shirt, and then you put it onto the head of a pen with a cap on it. But you hold it like this, so when you let go, the pen just disappears. Or you can hold the pen like this and you go like this, and the pen just disappears. All it's going is in your sleeve. But like I said, people would actually start saying, "Oh, like angels or genies helping you." And a lot of times, magic tricks in those regions with that. But anyways, let's move on. We kind of delved onto this too.
Yeah. Thanks for your question. Call in again sometime. Bye.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay, we'll take another question, and then we'll get back to a couple of slides. Patata Potato. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm a Muslim who doesn't believe in jinn possessions. I'm actually an Orthodox Sunni Muslim.
Okay.
But I've never believed in it. And we're actually a family who doesn't believe in it, and we are known for that. We actually have a story where a lot of people just come to us with different things, and they portray as if it is a jinn possession, but it isn't actually. For example, we had a woman who was supposedly becoming crazy, and no one wanted to treat her, and she wasn't becoming better. So my father took her to a doctor. He's actually a doctor himself, and then they found something on her brain, some kind of tumor, and they my father paid for her operation, and it went away. She became normal again. And now it's kind of our job to follow up on these stories and debunk them as they go. So this is the reason why people usually don't come to us with jinn possession stories, because they know they're usually kind of silly. Although, they just don't understand that the human brain is a complex issue. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you believe in jinns, but you don't believe in possession. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason you believe in jinns is because the Quran says there's such a thing as jinns?
Yeah, yes. And we don't believe in jinn possessions because the Quran doesn't say anything like it in the because it's such a big issue that it has to be mentioned in the Quran because it's just too big. You have a jinn who takes possession of your actions, of your words, of everything, and on the day of judgment, God is supposed to be judging all your actions. What happens to the time where you are possessed by a jinn? Does it somehow eradicate? It
would be considered insanity, right? It would be like insanity.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be. Yeah. Do you would you say that if it wasn't for Islam, you wouldn't believe in jinns, or do you think you would believe in jinns anyways? Like, do you have any experience with jinns yourself, or like when you say it's nonsense that they can possess people, like we would say it's just nonsense. Period. Why stop at possession? Because you definitely sound to be really intelligent, coming from a perspective of rationality and reason. You know, I would invite you to say, like, to go further and say, well, magic is nonsense too, evil eye is nonsense too, sihr, you know, and it's all nonsense because none of this is real.
Yeah, it's of course it is the Islamic perspective that gives the credentials for all of it, but I think the thing with jinn possessions, it's a complex issue that we think it's actually kind of unfair to be done by God himself on humans. And my father actually debated a lot of scholars on this issue, and they say, okay, there's a difference of opinion. You can disbelieve in jinn possessions, but you have to believe in jinns. Yeah, and I've never had any experiences with jinn or magic, or evil eye. People try to tell me always that some things happen because of that in my life, but I never believed in it. I think it's kind of silly. I'm a person I'd like to take. I believe that I'm accountable for my own actions. So if the lights are flickering, it's probably because you didn't pay your bills and the government is trying to give you a notice.
Oh my God! Actually, thank you so much for your call. I'll mention a light flickering story with myself as well. But one thing I find it very interesting is you're saying that the jinns, like the Quran doesn't say the jinn possession, but then when we come back to the Mawdatain, the two pulls, right? Would you not feel that, not explicitly though, but implicitly they do say in a way that jinns can possess humans?
The story about the Qul Huwallahu Ahad, these surahs. Yeah. I think it was because of black magic, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it?
Yeah, but then at the bottom it says about the waswasa from the jinns, right? So the whispering, and then how they. So I was just saying, doesn't imply that they can influence the actions of our, like.
I believe in waswasa, but I don't believe in jinn possessions.
Okay. But so then one would ask again, till what point do the waswasa turn into, or the intensity of the waswasa goes to an extent that it becomes overpowering and the jinn takes control of you? Because could that happen in your view?
In my opinion, no. I think words are powerful. So I think waswasa is powerful enough for a human to kind of do certain actions.
Okay.
But let's just say that I'm an Orthodox Sunni Muslim my whole life. I'm now at a phase, this is the reason why I'm watching you guys. I'm kind of questioning everything. So I cannot give you my opinions currently, but my opinions back then.
In fact, just for your safety, I would say if anybody knows who you are, I would say refrain from saying anything that might land you in any form of trouble with the community, okay?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I had a question. Yeah. I'm sorry,
sure.
I didn't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I went off about my disbelief in jinn possession, but I forgot to ask the question. Did you ever link a personal experience to a jinn possession? Yes. Evil magic or evil eye?
So flickering of the lights, I laughed when you said that. So there was a phase in my life of like, I think 2014, 2013. I was alone. I had visited family for a few months back in Pakistan, and then I had gotten engaged and I'd flown back to Canada, and I was feeling very homesick. So I was also depressed, right? And so my family had convinced me that and I myself convinced myself that there's something up, because like these feelings and whatnot are not normal. And my family had told me that there's an auntie in my family that's threatened to do black magic on us. So that fed into my paranoia. So I used to like do the special, like I'll pray the salah, and then I had these special du'as I'd recite after for, taking the genies off and the black magic off of me, right? And this one night, I just get up and I'm praying, and as soon as I say the salam at the right and left, the lights flicker, right? Like there was a whole power surge for a good 3-4 seconds. They flicker a few times, but then it stabilizes, and I say Allahu Akbar, and I thought, look, I said the dua, and Allah, it seems that the energy of the genies left, and that caused like an interaction with the field in the light bulb or something. and it made it flicker. But that was my thinking like back then. But like I said, like yeah, it could feed into these kind of stories if you're, like you said, not inclined towards rationality and have not been informed properly. Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah, thanks for your call, and thanks for sharing the perspective of you know, like there is a perspective among Sunnis that possession isn't real. Like you said, a lot of this stuff is, you know, the religion itself is not just the Quran and Sunnah, it's also the words of the scholars and other things. So definitely some scholars would say that possession is a real thing. Bilal Phillips wrote, you know, his book, The Exorcist Tradition in Islam, and he spoke about this. So like there is a difference of opinion, but thank you for sharing that. That's a good point.
Thank you.
And
Thank
good
you
luck
for
on
taking
your
the call.
journey. Yeah, and good luck on your journey.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's do a couple more slides and then we'll take some more questions because we're behind. Okay. Jinns and religious belief. Okay, so now we're gonna get into what the whole point of jinns. Allah says in the Quran, He created jinns and mankind to worship Him. Okay, I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not gonna go into that. Go ahead, Abdullah Gondal. You want to?
So here we see Surah Jinn, like we talked about the revelation. The Surah actually, it's an absurd. How did this Surah, this concept, become a standalone chapter in the book? Is amazing. It recounts a conversation between Muhammad and the Genies. The Genies heard Muhammad's Quran and they became Muslim. Long story short, this tells us that Genies actually do worship Allah. They do, like I said, it has been revealed to the group of Jinn. Listen, and as we have heard an amazing Quran and guys through the right course, and saying about Allah. So they actually have different gods. They worship different gods. They have different religions. And actually, when you go to the next slide, in verse 14 of this surah,
I just think this is so interesting that the jinns. By the way, you guys were Christian. You're all wrong because right here the jinns told Muhammad, that Allah doesn't have a son. So there you have it. You guys. Checkmate.
The jinns proved Islam.
Yeah, checkmate. Christians, you should know better because the jinns themselves even admitted to the truth that there's one God. And Christian jinns, they're going to hell too.
Yeah, so yeah, the 72-14. And what I'm trying to say, there's Muslim jinns, there's obviously Hindu jinns, Jewish jinns, Buddhist jinns, but then what about atheist genies? How can genies be atheists? They are supernatural, right? Yeah, superpowers.
Okay,
no, just a joke.
Yeah. So we talked about this already, so we don't need to. Again, I just wondered why you even bothered to say this.
This hadith is just weird. Where Muhammad, just to summarize, Muhammad is taking a shit, and he wants his buddy to go fetch him some stones to clean his ass, and the guy brings him the stones, but in one of them he had the animal dung because he can't find the third, and Muhammad says.
They use
the foods of jinn
back then, and his excuse for not using animal dung was don't use animal dung to wipe your ass because
jinns eat them.
Because jinns eat them.
Oh man,
what kind of logic is that?
I don't get it. These jinns are these superhuman kind of like weird creature with superpowers, but they eat dung and bones
and food that you don't say Bismillah.
Yeah.
And apparently Muhammad is very merciful because he invoked Allah that they would never pass by a bone or animal dung, but find food on it. Why do they need food? This is like a Pokemon thing. Like, is he think of them as Pokemon? You have to Pokemon feeder. You have to feed it every day, otherwise the Pokemon dies. They don't even eat food. Like, I mean, why do they even need food? They don't have physical bodies unless they're snakes. I don't know. Okay, next question. Next slide.
Allah will fill hell with genies and humans. So here's one thing that this verse implies, that genies actually are going to be judged like humans. They're actually being tested similar to humans, that at the end of the day, at the day of judgment, they'll literally be either put into heaven or hell. But what I'm trying to say is, like, the verse, like read it, 11:119, except whom your Lord has given mercy, and for that he created them. But the word of your Lord is to be fulfilled, that I will surely fill hell with jinn and men altogether. So Allah is boasting in a proud thing, like, I will surely fill hell with genies and men.
I wonder how much of hell is jinn. How much of hell?
Gotta catch him up.
I wonder how much of hell is jinns and how much is humans. Like, what's the percentage? Is it like
Yeah, right.
50, 25, 75? Like,
in fact, like if there's 7 billion humans, what's because we're told they live in a parallel dimension like us, whereas there's genies that marry, genies that have pets, and they have visitors and all sorts of different jobs. So like, are they 7 billion genies as well, or are they like proportionate in a different way, like the Yajuj and Majuj, where 999 equate to 1 human?
is it like if there's atheist jinns and Muslim jinns and Hindu jinns, do they have prophets too? Apparently,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a hadith that says they have animals too. I mean, it's like these genies are like, what is this? Like, they're like magical creatures that whisper in your ears. They're also going to hell. They're also not going to hell. There's also Muslim ones. Like, they also like eat food, but the food they eat is out of leftovers. Why would they need to eat out of leftover food? It just none of this. Does this make sense? It's just so bizarre. Let's take some questions before we continue. Let's take a question. Someone is saying Apostate Prophet used to believe in Jinn. We all used to believe in Jinn.
Yeah, I used to believe in Jinn too.
Yeah, it's just like, and you know, people are saying, you know, voodoo is real and stuff like that. I just want to discuss that. The thing is, people don't realize that you got to be a little bit more skeptical about these things, right? Like, there's explanations that, you know, I highly recommend people who are wondering about these things, sign up to a skeptic podcast, read a skeptic magazine. They have gone through claim after claim and they debunked it. For example, that Ouija board.
Yeah.
There's a, what is it called? Paramotor movement or something. There's an explanation for it where you slight shift in your movement gets, you know, basically magnified, and so you feel like it's moving on its own. But there's something more to the effect. I forgot what it's called. Someone in the chat's gonna say it now. So do check out. Jinns have divorce courts too. Like, this is like, it's like.
Well, I mean, there's the thing that there's this one verse that is so weird. In Surah Rahman, لَمْ يَطْمِثْهُنَّ إِنسٌ قَبْلَهُمْ وَلَا جَانٌ. Something like this, where Allah's talking about preserving the houris inside tents, whom no jinn and men haven't ever touched.
Yeah.
This implies that jinns will be having houris in heaven as well. So why does Allah need to protect houris in heaven from what? There is no sin in heaven.
Yeah.
So like, what's the protection for?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't make sense. Okay.
Hi, Weeping Prophet. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Yeah, I used to believe in this stuff when I was a kid and used to be very afraid of this. But when I started researching about this, it turned into a comedy. Like, if you know about this story of a woman like Emily Rose, I studied her case actually, and this is a funny part. When the priest asked her who she was, you know what she said? She said she was Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler, and Nero. So just look at her answers. The word Lucifer is a Latin transliteration into German.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Nero is a demonized king according to Christianity. And where did Adolf Hitler come from? He's a politician like Mao and Pol Pot. So as a German, she only has knowledge about only those things.
Oh wow, very good point.
Yeah. So and the voice changing. I heard the recordings. She paused for a second and she added Adolf Hitler into the list. It was so funny. Like, I laughed like anything listening to it, and that moment it shattered. Like, I stopped believing in this stuff. Like,
I remember I watched this movie, like, I don't even know, like early mid 2000s when it came out, Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember a scene where she's tied in a barn at one point, and then she just had like 11th, and the priest is doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird stuff, man. And then
yeah, and also if you see these paranormal activities or like these possessions, they're speaking in tongues, etc. They only speak the languages and the sounds of their language. Like for example, the Pentecostals, they don't produce sounds like Arab people. They only produce sounds according to the English language.
Exactly, that's
and they think they get from God.
So what he's saying is that if Samir was starting to speak in tongues, he wouldn't start suddenly speaking in click languages from Africa, because he never experienced those.
Yeah, why not click languages from Africa? I mean, it's all tongues, right? But the English person will never say the click sounds because he doesn't know it. His brain didn't register it.
Exactly.
So all these jinns, possession, and everything is fake. Like I told you, right? The Emily Rose, the Adolf Hitler thing.
Yeah.
It's comedy
Actually,
gold.
very good point. Thanks for sharing that, man. That's a very good point. I'm really enjoying today's show where people are bringing up such salient, important points and questions.
That's what I wanted to say, man.
Okay, thanks for your call. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello.
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the time to have me on. I sincerely appreciate it.
How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, man.
First of all, I'm wearing a hat because my hair is just a ridiculous afro right now.
No problem. Don't worry about it.
If I may, I'm just going to make a quick comment, and then I have a question, if I could ask, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Just be on topic.
I think you guys are honestly so brave and so important to the world because, for myself, I'm an atheist. I was born in an Islamic country, and I tried to believe, and it just wasn't true. I felt there was a lie. And all you can do when you go on YouTube, if you want to try to find people, rebuttaling Islam, is always this ownage compilation. But not many people are doing what you're doing and taking the time to thoughtfully, kind of like a Dillahuntty, but the Islamic version, trying to, break down these arguments and give these people an outlet. Because even the people who are arguing against you are coming in here and hiding their face, hiding their names. And that shows how much fear there really is. So sincerely, I think you two are some of the biggest heroes the world needs right now. And then my question, my question to you is, whenever I go on, if you go on Google News right now and you type in Islam, or you type in YouTube, you type in Islam, it's always pro-Islam propaganda, always positive. And part of that might be the fear of, violent Islamic retaliation. Is that disheartening to you guys? And how hard is it for you guys to try to kind of make a name and make a way for yourselves in this field and try to kind of reach out to the community?
So I'll go first. You do make a good point about fear of retaliation. I think that's more of a subconscious thing. I don't think anyone wants to really admit it, that when Charlie Hebdo happened, that people were actually attacking the cartoonists. I don't think people would honestly admit, consciously that, oh, we're doing this because we don't want to be next. I don't think anyone would say that, even though in the back of the mind, like I sometimes wonder myself, like, what's the consequence going to be for, usually when it's something more that, something that'll go viral, like a meme or like a one sentence tweet, sometimes those things can actually come back and hit you because people get really upset about it. So sometimes I do wonder that myself. And then I wonder, am I doing this, not doing this because I don't want to be next or something like that? So that's a real issue, but I don't think people are necessarily honest even to themselves about it, especially when you're talking about like, white Western liberals. The ones, when Salman Rushdie happened, it's shameful that people were attacking him. Like, you might not like what he wrote his book about, his satire, and but we need to stand up when someone is bullied like that. All of us need to stand behind him. Like, we don't have to agree with the content. And the book wasn't even that good, but they made it a big thing because they, bribed Barbra Streisand effect by saying we're going to kill you for this book. They amplified his book, and everyone needs to stand behind him and not, we need to all help each other, not against we shouldn't be helping the terrorists, the people that want to shut us down, especially when he didn't do anything like that bad. He made a satire, he made a comedy or a book or whatever. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? If people are going to be offended about that, that's okay. You can be offended, but he has the right to say that, so that's my position. In terms of how difficult it is to do this, the tech companies have a left-leaning bias. So when you're talking about YouTube, when you're talking about Facebook, when you're talking about all of these platforms, they tend to they don't want to be racist, they don't want to be xenophobic, they don't want to be bigoted. So what they do is they tend to shut us down. And sometimes it's unintentional. That I think it's coming from a good place. I don't think the solution is to just abandon YouTube, go on some other platform like BitChute or something. I don't think the solution is to quit Patreon and go to Subscribester. I don't think the solution is to quit Facebook, make a new social media. Those social medias tend to look like the dark web, these alternate social medias. You have like neo-Nazi content, you have like, you know, the most disgusting stuff. So Facebook and these companies, they're trying to keep the bad stuff off the internet. They're trying to keep off the far right and all of that stuff. But what ends up happening is sometimes I think we are collateral damage. I think that we are the ones who are getting hit by mistake. I don't think we are the target. And you know, Muslims sometimes they'll do this targeted action where they'll make a private group. Sometimes they're dumb enough to do it in public. And like I made a video about how they tried to attack Apostate Prophet, and they did it publicly on Twitter. They're like, hey guys, create a Patreon account, go here, report his content, let's get his funding sources shut down. I mean, that was just so stupid to do that publicly, because I just made a video on it and everybody's sending messages to Patreon saying, look what these guys are doing. They're trying to manipulate your system. So Patreon, again, you know, at the end of the day, all of these platforms, they care about the bottom line. And the bottom line sometimes means going by the majority. And Muslims are in many ways a majority because there's a lot of YouTube viewers who are Muslim. So it is difficult. It's very difficult. It's, you know, it's not just the advertising income. It's also the actual income itself can be taken away from you, even if it's private donations. Like PayPal has been, you know, had taken away certain people's accounts. Patreon got rid of Sargon of Akkad, and that's when Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson left. So it is a struggle for sure. Gondal, do you want to add anything to that?
Not really. I mean, I'd say that even on our videos, there are pro-Islamic ads on a lot of the times. Like you'll start a video on like Quran President Hajj ads are playing, or donate to Islamic Ali Dawah. It's actually, ironically, there were Ali Dawah ads on ex-Muslims, Muslims leaving Islam on some years' videos. Personal troubles I've faced a lot, but we did talk about them, I think in the blasphemy streams. I don't want to reiterate. But yeah, no, like you said, like everybody's aware, like Charlie Hebdo and whatnot. So like, of course, there's obviously a constant thing in the back of your mind, you know, like you're walking on the street and then you see somebody and he's just gonna jump at you. So yeah, it happens. But like I said, gotta live on with it. One of the reasons I do what I do is, and the whole mentality is, it's not to make my brand or my name famous. It's not even about me. It's about, I've lived in Pakistan, I've seen how indoctrination works, and I've seen how it ruins people's lives. And I cannot see my younger brothers or the kids of nations like that just go through it. I mean, just this whole stream about Jinns, like I just can't stay silent on this. I'm an outspoken person, but yeah, that's 2 cents on there.
And thank you honestly for your kind words.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You know, you're saying we're heroes, but we're just doing our part. You know, we have the freedom of expression and freedom of religion here, and we have to take that seriously. We have to. We can't just let these people be the only guys in town who say whatever they want and we say nothing back. Like, because otherwise, you know, Islamic revivalism will come back. It happened to me. I converted from a liberal Shia sect, Ismailism. Some people say they're not even Muslim, to an Orthodox, strict Sunni Salafi, and who knows, maybe I wouldn't have even become jihadi. So we have to fight back, and we have to constantly do this, because human beings are irrational. Like we're not the most rational beings at times. Sometimes we fall into these things. So, you know, but yeah, thanks for your call, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Okay, we got 2 more people waiting, but let's do a couple more slides because
right.
we need to get through the presentation, right? Okay, we talked about this. Okay, so this is actually a little bit of an interesting topic, and I don't want to delve too much into this because it's a little bit of a longer topic, but there seems to be some confusion about Shaitan. What is he? Is he a jinn or is he an angel? When you look at pre-Islamic sources, Iblees, the devil, is known as being an angel, a fallen angel. But and even in the Quran, when it says, Allah said to the angels, bow down to Adam. Now this is from the pre-Islamic sources, right? And they all prostrated except for Iblees. Now tell me something. If I told the angels bow down, why would Iblees, like they all bow down except Iblees? Well, Iblees, why is Iblees there if he's not an angel? If I tell the angels bow down, well, they all bow down, Why do you have to say except for Iblees, unless he's an angel as well? So it seems like there is some confusion, and this confusion was actually from the fact that maybe Muhammad wasn't sure about this whole thing, and he included the story in the Quran, and then later on he had to clarify it because there's other verses where it doesn't mention that he was of the jinn.
Yeah, so there's more verses. There are like 4 or 5 verses that portray him as an angel. Only one explicit verse, this one, and one implicit verse, I think, that says that he's not an angel but a jinn.
Yeah, it's like if you have a bunch of men and there's and there's a woman there, and like, hey men, bow down, and they all bow down. Well, the woman wasn't supposed to bow down. You told the angels to bow down. You told the men to bow down. Why is the woman not bowing down? I'm not saying women are devils, by the way. Maybe that was a bad comparison to make. But like the point,
Muhammad has said that, so I mean, you're just talking to Sunnah.
I don't need to say that. It's just like, okay. Anyways, this should be a whole video on itself. I'm not going to do any more on that.
And like, how would the change, like in the Bible, it's like he's a fallen angel, but in the Quran,
it makes more sense that he's a fallen angel, exactly, and not a jinn. The jinn thing, I think, came later to kind of fix it.
What one thing I just don't make sense to me is the whole saga. Why is Allah commanding the angels to bow down or do sajda when we know that angels don't even have a free will? What's the whole point? Right? It doesn't make sense in that way. But what we will do now is we will go forward and go to jinns in human form. So here we have Abu Hurairah said, Allah's messenger put me in charge of zakat, Ramadan, zakat al-fitr. Someone came to me and started scooping some of the food stuff with both hands. I caught him and told him that I would take him to Allah's messenger. The thief said, wherever you go to your bed, recite the verse of Kursi. Okay. For then a guardian from Allah will be guarding you, and Satan will not approach you. And then the Prophet said, he told you the truth, though he's a liar, and he himself was the Satan. So basically, the Satan showed up in human form to Sahabi, started stealing the donations, and then said that I'm telling you the secret weapon to kill me and all my jinns, because I'm gonna snitch on my own kind. Recite the Ayatul Kursi.
Because he wanted food. He was stealing food. What the hell? I thought he was eating dung. Hello. You don't need to steal food. You can eat the dung. There's lots of animal dung.
Lots of dung, yeah. Like, it's a video game, bro. Like Genie Sims Edition or something.
Oh, we're getting to the exciting stuff. Let's take one more call.
Yeah.
I just, like this stuff is good, but I don't want to interrupt it. Hi, confirm Jahannami. Are you there? Jahannami? You never know. You might turn back to Allah one day.
I like your little logo going back and forth.
Yeah.
He's got fire. Okay, go for it, dude.
Hey guys, what's up?
Good, man.
Good,
how about you?
Yeah,
I'm awesome. First of all, like I love your guys' stuff. Like I'm really thankful that you guys do this. I live in Pakistan, and like I would have never gotten to the to like just saying that this is complete BS without you guys. Like,
thank you.
I really thank you for that. Like the Mass Arab and like you Abdullahs, the servants of Allah, helping us. Other servants of Allah started a revolution. Like, thank you for that. Like, I really appreciate it. Yeah. And,
like I said, it's all for you guys. We realize that in countries like Pakistan, you guys can't speak up. So it almost becomes a moral obligation for me that having this liberty of free speech, I have to speak up, you know?
Yeah. This is, thank you guys, like Haris and all of you guys. Like,
you're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Right. I had actually I had 3 questions, right? Well, actually I had 1 question and 2 stories to tell you, right?
Okay.
The question is that I used to pray Jummah, and I really don't pray at all nowadays. But every time after Jummah, they used to pass out flyers outside of the masjid. And on the flyers, it was written that you could get cure for AIDS, cancer, and whatnot from Dam Darood, from Phuke. What do you call it? Like blowing the Ayatul Kursi on you, and stuff like that. Right? And you just visit our center, and we'll do the Sunnah on you, and you'll be healed for life. So something along those lines. Right? And I pissed me off so many times. I actually got into a fight once because of it.
Wow.
Yeah, this has made me really angry. But the two stories that I have is, I used to see a girl back in the day. She belonged to an Orthodox Muslim family, and she was sick. She had a problem with her lungs. So her uncle, who was apparently, I think, a mullah or something, he told her that a jinn is ashik on you, right? He is in love with you, and as far as I know, I was the only person seeing it. So I don't know.
So your ex-girlfriend was Jinn had a crush on her ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was that, and damn it, I think I forgot the other thing that I was going to say. No, it slipped my mind. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. If it comes back, you can always call in again. Thanks for the call. We'll take one more last caller, and then we'll get back to the slides. Thanks, man. Good luck with your journey in Pakistan. Stay safe. Don't
stay safe, man.
Avoid telling anyone. Don't have any blasphemous content on your PC and all that. Use a VPN.
I'm about to leave soon. I'm about to leave. I'm making money remotely. I can travel and.
Okay.
Yeah. Just till then, just stay low, stay hidden. Like I said, you don't want to get caught at the airport on the ECL.
Delete your messages on your Facebook, whatever, all that stuff.
So one word of advice: I have a few friends that literally their houses were raided by the FI and whatnot. Just to give you a heads up, delete everything remotely related to your ex-Muslim or apostasy. Have VPNs with multi-hop servers, because they can trace your single hops back. I'm telling you this because I know people in the intelligence in Pakistan. They have traced people with VPNs. And always, if you do use access an email, that is, have it set up with fake names, and always use incognito mode. Because what these guys will do, when they come to your PC, they will literally go into your Windows registry and look at the cache and stuff like that to see what you were searching online. So even if you delete your online history, these people they know where to look. Okay, so just be very careful, because I don't want anything similar happening to you. Okay, but thanks for calling us.
Thanks for sharing that
story about the dung healing. Just one thing center, and Samir made a video about this one guy. Remember Pir Usman, the guy who would take this oil in a pan and then touch his foot and then rub his foot on people's chests and
that was that was bad. If you had time, I'd love to show that, but we won't. Thanks for your call, man.
Thank you so much. Stay safe. Much love and
bye.
Bye.
Okay, last call, and then we get back to the slides. Hello.
Oh, how are you guys? Thanks
good.
a lot again for taking my call.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, good. I have quite a lot of points, so I'm just gonna go over them one by one. First, I'm gonna ask question at the end. So first few comment, I think in Pakistan, this jinn culture is mostly due to these peers and everything. Like they have this kind of commercial thing that they need to maintain all of this, because if they don't do this kind of thing, their business model would break down. So the caller that you had, like, who was saying, like, in Sunni, maybe possessions are not real. In Pakistan, you can't say those kind of things, because they will just come against you. They will be like, yeah, they are real. So it's whole their business model that works on all of these. They get money from it, right? And also then they exploit all the women and everything. Like there are so many cases where the women will go, they are possessed, and they will rape them.
There's Sir Baba who said, to get the genie out of you, you need to take the light of my semen inside your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Hundreds of women in Pakistan.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah. So that's first thing. And the second thing is this Iblees thing, as jinn or not. So I think I consider that's kind of like modification that they wanted to do to make the story better a little bit, to include the free will argument into the thing, which was not included before, because then they removed free will out of angels completely, but they still added one person who headed the free will, and that was Iblees. So and that's how,
I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, though, because there's examples. I remember this discussion with Bilal Phillips, and he was saying, well, there's examples of angels like challenging Allah and saying, well, what about this? Why would you, like, if they don't have free will, why are they asking Allah, why do you want to put humans on earth? So I think there's a lot of contradictions when you look at the theology, and this is why Islamic scholars, they can do PhDs on this. Like, is there such a thing as possession? Isn't there such a thing as possession? Like, can jinns, like, there's contradictions and that are right there in the theology.
I just want, like, just like having a neuroscientist or a neurologist sit on the panel when these theologians give their dissertation for defend their PhD on exorcisms.
Yeah,
pure comedy, man. But
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, it's like Harry Potter or any other like mythology.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it as mythology, it's mythology. But if you think it's real, I mean, that's a problem. And I just want to say thanks to the people who joined the channel. There's two new members here: Zishan, Ayub, and Black Milky. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are new here, please do consider joining. The money you give does help the channel and really is appreciated. So Talal, you had also a question?
Yes. So what I want to talk about is demons, concept of demons. Like if you look at Christianity and their theology, they have just the whole chunk on demons, right? They are just the opposite side of angels and everything. But in Islam, what they have done is that demon concept is almost non-existent. It goes like along with jinn. Like jinns are considered kind of demons. They are not. There is no separate entity as demons in Christianity. So would you comment on that a little bit? Because then if you think on that terms, like these demons who can inflict you, or Iblees has all of these demons who can just come to you, like they can put this waswasa and all kind of this thing in your heart and everything. But then again,
I didn't understand what you were saying about Christianity. Christianity doesn't have demons, you said?
No, they have, but their demons exist different than angels. They are different entity. They are not jinns.
I feel like the demons in Christianity are like just a category on their own, but he says that the broader category of jinns exists in Islam. Yes. And the thing is, I feel what ends up happening is that demons are solely inherently evil, right? But jinns can be evil and good in Muslim and Hindu. So I think that's what the thing was, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. But in Islam, demons are always jinns. They are not like a separate separate entity.
Yeah.
If so, the demons are just one type of jinns who are demons.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are just like these slaves of Iblees or something like that. And I think that is overall Muslim narrative, or I don't know, but it is never clear in Islam. Like if you it's not clear like what they're actually calling demon or not, like what happens to them, and that's really confusing. And even if you look about this hell concept, angels are in charge of the hell in Islam. Mm-hmm. Rather than having some demons, or I'm saying like they have this whole angel mythology, like Malik is his name, I think, and he's in charge of the hell and everything. So it is kind of an upgradation on what Christianity had. Like they just made this whole free will argument completely like free will out of angels, and they're just commanding, doing whatever Allah commands. So that was just one comment on this. Yeah,
it was actually a good observation too. Like you said, devil and the demons are the caretakers of hellfire, and there's the one who torture people in the Bible, right? In the biblical hell. But in the Quranic hell, it's Allah using angels to inflict the torture upon people, right? So it's it's very interesting. Good thing to know.
Thanks for your comment. I won't be able to really reflect on it because I don't understand the Christian version well enough. But yeah, thanks for your reflections.
For the Pir Baba things, I have two stories that very close relatives of my family. I'm not going to name their direct relationship just because, privacy issues. But let's just say that one of my very close relatives was suspected of having genie possessions. And this was after they had a concussion. And it was just post-concussion syndrome, nothing weird, right? But because from Pakistan, they're not that educated, they thought it's a genie. Their whole family convinced them. They took him to a Pir Baba. No joke. The Pir Baba took kalonji seeds with mint leaves and mixed it in this weird neem oil, and then stuffed it up her nose till she puked. Because the guy said that when you puke out the evil from the demon. Yeah. And then he gave her this concoction of like 3 different types of leaves you have to burn, and then this oil mixture that he made, mint and neem and whatnot, that you have to add 2 drops to each nostril every day. Just bizarre nonsense. So there was one of those. Then the other one was this very little girl, and this one she was like 6 or 7, and she'd like be fighting off adults, her uncles or parents. she'd be super strong, like we talked about earlier, like superhuman strength and whatnot. Again, same thing happened. They took her to the Peer Baba. They actually did, this one was bad because they went to the Peer Babas for a while and they couldn't figure it out. And then the kid just grew out of it. And now we realize that it was, the kid's older now, very, very much older, but it makes sense that the person was epileptic, found out later on in life.
Yeah, I have one thing to add.
Okay.
Like one of my family members, not really close, but they had this kind of issue. They went to psychiatrist there, also in Pakistan, everything. But they went to psychiatrist, and that didn't help them. As soon as they went to Peer Baba, and they did something like this Damdrud and everything, and that seemed to help them. Like that just calms them down or something. And this is this psychological effect which actually makes them go to Peer Baba rather than going to the psychiatrist. And that's kind of really weird thing. Like my mind cannot comprehend that, but it just works for them.
It's a placebo.
I think as well, you know, there's different qualities of psychiatrists. Sometimes, you know, even with therapists, people have to keep looking for the right one because the first one is not effective or successful in treating you. So sometimes it's just the individual that you're seeing, right?
Yeah. So for example, like I'll give you a quick rundown on it, is because people are told a version of something and are conditioned all their life growing up that if this thing goes wrong, that is the cure. They have hardwired in their brain over 20, 30, 40 years that they have to do that. So what ends up happening is, even though they might go to a doctor and he knows exactly, he can see the lesion in the brain on the CT scan, MRI scan, he knows this med will fix it, blah, blah, blah. Person will not feel safe taking the meds from the doctor and will be more happier to go to the Peer Baba. This is a novelty effect too. So what ends up happening is placebo. Like in science, we do this where you give people a sugar pill and an actual pill and divide them into groups, and you'll see that both of them will be like, oh, it worked, right? But it's not really there. So the Peer Baba might be telling them it's working, and they'll actually start feeling the effects. They'll actually have physical better feelings. Another interesting thing with the placebo effect is people with damage to the frontal cortex are less likely to feel it, and people with Alzheimer's are almost, they don't have the experience of the placebo effect. So it's very interesting when you see these kind of things come out in neuroscience. So like I said, why this is important is the frontal cortex planning and pulling memories, piecing things together. Like it's piecing the social conditioning that you've gone through. If you eradicate that, the placebo goes away as well. That's just my explanation.
Yeah, and one last thing, like being living Islam has made us probably more brave, because we are not afraid of that dark anymore. Like we are not afraid of jinns or anything. Even if we wake up in the night or anything, we are not looking at that cloth hanging on the rod and thinking, oh my God, that's the jinn. Like you immediately realize it can't be jinn. You just have that now at the back of your mind, and you are more braver than you were before. Although I am still afraid of Muslims who can kill me, but I'm not afraid of jinns anymore, and that's a clear difference now.
That says a lot, yeah.
Thanks for your call, man.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Actually, like you said about the mentality, like it feeds into the paranoia mental state that it creates. Because like, I remember I hear a knock on the door at the middle of the night or a door creak. Automatically, the first thing will come is jinns.
Yeah.
Not thieves. Not somebody breaking into my house. Jinns.
I want to answer this one comment before we go back to the slides. Where does a free will angel contradiction occur in the Quran? So I'm just gonna tell you the Islamic narrative. The Islamic narrative is that angels don't have the same level as humans, because humans chose to take this burden of Islam or religion or worshiping God. They chose free will, whereas angels, they have some limited free will, but not unlimited free will. So that's what he was referring to. He was saying that, you know, humans go above angels in Islamic theology because, or they can go below, right? You have to choose. So that's basically the Islamic narrative. Okay, Jinn
powers. Like, I'm starting to feel like I'm going through a 7th century Marvel comic book edition or something. Okay, jinns can mislead mankind. One of the points I wanted to show this for is in 6:128. It says that on the day Allah will gather the company of jinn, and he'll say to them, "O company of jinn, you have misled many of mankind." And their allies among mankind will say, "O Lord, some of us made use of others, and we have now reached our term." And then in 6:112 it says, "And thus we made for every prophet an enemy, devils from mankind and jinn." Just to show you that the Quran is heavily invested in this weird idea of jinns, and then jinns whispering and being Satan and leaving people away from the religion. Or this also shows that jinns will be, like I said earlier, subjected to judgment at the end of the day as well. Let's keep going on.
Okay. And it also says we made for every prophet an enemy from devils from mankind and jinn.
Yeah, we'll get to the personal genie sidekicks in a bit.
So apparently jinns can make babies cry. Do you want to explain this?
Yeah, so this is a very frequently narrated hadith. This is a very small version, but it goes into the details where it adds to this that the only person that didn't cry from the touch of Satan was Isa, Jesus.
Yeah, and you know what's hilarious? My third son Zahid, when he was born, I shouldn't have said his name. Anyways, when he was born, he didn't cry, and I was like, as a Muslim, I'm like, is this the next Jesus? I didn't say it's the next Jesus. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why is he not crying? I was like so confused, not because babies have to cry, but because of the hadith that says that Satan pokes the babies when they're born. So I'm like, is he like...
So there's Satan in hospital, there's poking babies in the maternity ward.
and then when it doesn't happen, like, I was weird, right? I mean, most babies do cry. Eventually he cried, but he didn't cry when he was born. He was just happy. He was smiling, and it's like, weird, right? You know?
Yeah, oh man.
Oh,
so this is an exorcist video we will show you.
We did that. We showed that already.
We did that already. So what we're gonna go to is this Genie construction company. Okay, genies are expert builders, man. Like if you read Surah 34, verse 12 to 13, and 30 and 37, amongst many others. And for Solomon, we subjugated to him the wind. Its journey in the morning was equal to the journey of 1 month, and its journey in the afternoon was equal to the journey of another month. We caused a stream of copper to flow for him, and there were some jinns who worked before him with the leave of his Lord. Whoever of them would deviate from our command would make him face the punishment. They used to make whatever he wished of castles, images, basins as large as tanks, and big cookware. Come on. I mean, it's too funny, dude. Yeah, like, and then the other word says, and
it actually says that in the Quran. It used to make pots. Jesus.
Like they subjugated all builders and divers. I don't know what he means divers. Were they like going in deep sea diving? I don't know. But if you want to have,
why did Zulkarnain not just hire jinns to do this big public?
But he wasn't Solomon, right? Because here's the thing. The Quran says that this power, the control of genies, was exclusive to Solomon, and we'll see why Muhammad will use that trick to explain one of his weird experiences, his fist fight with a genie. Anyways, let's go. Teleporting genies.
This one doesn't talk about. Unfortunately, I kind of wish we put it now, but Hassan Radwan has a video about the absurd story of Solomon and how when he died, he had like a stick hold himself up so he wouldn't fall down, and like his body is dead. It's probably decomposing, but apparently none of these magical jinns could figure out that he was dead because he had a stick holding himself. Like, how does this make sense? This is in the Quran. It doesn't. These guys can whisper. You can't see them. They can see you. You can't see them. Yet they didn't know the prophet was dead. And so, and why would the prophet need them to do work after he's dead? Like,
they should have been
gives a break, man.
Yeah, if they can, like, here's what I don't understand. If they can get into our brains and whisper thoughts into us, they know that they can detect neural networks and the liveliness if somebody's alive or not. How did they not do it with Solomon? This is just like, if you try to poke holes, you can poke so many holes in these stories. It's absolutely limitless.
So the first reference you have here is the Queen of Sheba and the teleporting jinn, and he brought the
So here's one thing interesting is this mentions, I think, the Ifrit. There's a verse that mentions
yes
directly the big jinn.
Says I here. Yep.
Yeah, so it's Qala Ifritum min al-Jinni. So a stalwart, the big jinn said, I will bring to you before you rise up from your place, and for this task I am powerful and reliable. So the guy saying, Solomon says, bring me the Queen of Sheba. This big jinn's like, I'll make it instantly come in front of you before you can get up from your place. I'm this powerful. And then he says, and he did that, and Solomon was like, wow, this is by the grace of my Lord that he might test me.
So even if there's no more revelation from Allah, what, did Jinn suddenly stop doing these things too?
Exactly. Right?
Like, this is nothing to do with Allah anymore. This is jinns. These are like magical creatures that have these powers. So why don't we see teleportation? I mean, yeah, I would say bring me the Burj Khalifa. I always wanted to see the Burj Khalifa. Bring it to Canada. Like,
I'll tell you one of the weirdest story that I know. This is my personal story. It's a long family tale, and everybody in my family seems to think it's true. They tell you this as gospel as a kid. So there was this weird, I don't know, my great grandfather or something. He was into genies. Like, he was into black magic and genies, and he would go to forest. Yeah, he was like going to forest and draw circles and stars.
Haram.
Yeah, and anyway, the story goes that this guy somehow managed to take the body hair of 2 genies and sew him onto his own skin, thereby giving him full, complete control and authority over genies like Solomon.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It's so fucking ridiculous.
This is crazy. Well, I don't know what to say. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like obvious. I mean, that's what the other caller was saying too, that according to some Muslims, that the power of jinns is limited only to whispering, and that's it. So this is clear in the Quran that you can pray to Allah to stop.
But the thing is, these whispers, can they be interpreted as schizophrenic people hearing voices? Right?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
The whispers of the jinn. Because these people hear voices of jinns or angel or whatever normally, right? So
no, it can't be angels. Angels only talk to Muhammad.
Okay.
It's so simple. Once you know the Islamic theology, it's like you have an answer for everything. It can't be ghosts. It has to be jinns, right? Okay.
This is where now here's what's interesting. Now some people, and this is not just this one person, they say that you can have sex with genies. In fact, genies can rape you.
It says in the Quran, not touched by any man or jinn.
Yeah. Like, it was talking about the hur, so we know that the humans and genies both like hurs. So there's a common sexual preference, or now it makes sense.
I'm gonna play it.
Anyway, let's just play the clip.
So the sister basically emails in and mentions that she has been experiencing some jinn activity at night in the early hours of the morning when she is trying to sleep. She mentions that there is a figure that comes and it has sex with her. It sexually assaults her. It rapes her.
Okay.
So there's a ghost. So this lady is being raped by a ghost every night, and we're supposed to take this seriously.
Do they have a section on the Pornhub?
What about the 4 witnesses? Wait, she claims she got raped, but if she can't produce the witnesses, she should be stoned to death, right?
And can you have a baby with a jinn? Like Isa.
Sorry, man. Oh my God, this is just too much.
Yeah. Okay, jinn protection. Okay, now we're getting into how to protect yourself from jinns.
Yeah. So these pesky little creatures, all these superpowers, they can do so many amazing things, but they somehow seem to be so underaccomplished, and all they care about is teasing humans. Okay, so personal sidekick genies. So let me tell you that every person ever born has a personal genie with him, accompanying him everywhere. So Muhammad said, there is none amongst you with whom is not an attaché from amongst the genie, the jinn. Then his companion, what about you, Messenger of Allah? Is there one with you too? And Muhammad said, yes, but Allah helps me against him. And there's other hadith that said, I converted my genie to become Muslim. He doesn't give me waswasa. And the word is attached in the Quran.
Yes, I was going to say that, yeah, exactly. I was going to say that it's also kind of hinted at in the Quran as well. That it doesn't say everyone, but it says that people have jinns as companions.
And then it goes on.
Oh, sorry, you want me to keep it on there?
I think it's this verse, something like this. There's a mention of this in Surah Apostate. Also, it's not just one. I think it's mentioned a few places. All right. Protect babies from Satan's before sex. We talked about the...
Yeah, we talked about that, right?
Yeah, so the Prophet said, if any... Well, read the dua though again.
Sure.
If anyone intends to have sexual intercourse with his wife, he should say, Bismillah, Allahumma... Janibna janibna.
But what if you want to have sex with a jinn? Do you seek refuge from humans?
Okay, this is getting ridiculous, dude. This thing, it makes no sense. It's from every
sense. You just elegant, stubborn kafir. Murtad.
Fallacious murtad, yeah. I'm presuppositioning naturalism. How can I reject jinns? You know?
Okay. This is the one where you go up 3 times and that helps you from jinns as well.
Yeah, the dream.
And also if you're praying and you get waswasa in your prayer, you go
oh wait, I have never seen that one because I was mostly Hanafi growing up.
Oh yeah.
Or at least in Pakistan. I don't think Hanafis do that during the salah spitting.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. People are spitting.
Well, it's supposed to be dry spit. You're not actually like it's like
you're
blowing basically, right?
But it's still so useless.
I know it's gross too, right? And it's like maybe that's why they don't want to be shoulder to shoulder, the Hanafis. So someone's asking a question: what's the difference between jinn and the Western concept of genie in a bottle? I think the word genie comes from jinn. I mean, that's why we use it interchangeably. Obviously, the jinn, Islamic version of jinn, is very specific. It's created from fire, and we're showing you all of the absurd things about jinns. But there's actually an interesting thread. Maybe this is a good excuse to show the thread that talks about jinns and all the different references in Islam.
Yeah, and the paintings and whatnot.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a thread by this Ali Olimi, I think he's a scholar, academic. It talks about in the Middle East all of the different folklore about jinns. And by the way, the Quran also, or the Hadith also talks about Dawah, a creature that but there's all sorts of Ibn Battuta thought there was a floating mountain over the China Sea. There's an enormous eagle that can carry an elephant in its talons. There's in Turkish lore there's a creature that's described as a massive peacock with the head of a dog, and you can be summoned by burning its feathers. In the great sea monster Bahamut, right? Qazwini's text, Bahamut rests on the shoulder of an angel. There's all sorts of mythology that has come out of this. Now, this stuff is not in the primary text of the Quran and Sunnah. We're talking about now Eastern mythology, right? So Middle Eastern mythology. So it was very vast and expansive before Islam, and Islam limited it. And then, of course, from that, it became vast and expansive again. But now this is not just talking about Islam, but this is Middle Eastern sort of mythology now we're talking about, right? And medieval Muslims have different ideas. So I won't go into that because we're not talking about that right now. But thank you to to our mutual friend Philip for sending us this.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah. Okay. And we talked about how the jinn came in human form, which is freaking weird. Now you don't know if the guy you're talking to is a jinn or something. I don't know, man. But whatever. This is a proof that jinns can come in human forms. And like you said, it doesn't make any sense. Why would he expose himself for a piece of food? He's gonna tell you how to.
He can eat the dung from the camels.
And he's gonna expose his own weakness. Maybe this is trolling. Maybe pussy doesn't actually work, and he's just lying.
Bro, what if Burak is a donkey and mule hybrid? It also has droppings, so that might be super genie food.
You gotta do this in Urdu, man. You gotta do this.
In
Urdu.
I gotta do it with the heart, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about stories.
So here is the interactive Jinn Quran recitation session going on. So Muhammad bin al-Munkadir, the Jabir, said the Messenger of Allah came out to his companion and recited Surah Rahman from its beginning to end for them, and they were silent. So he said, I recited to the jinns on the night of the jinns, and they had a better response to it than you did. Each time I said, they would say, we do not deny any of your favors, our Lord, and yours is your praise. So the genies were having an interactive back and forth Quran session with Muhammad. The hadith is graded Hasan by Dar es Salaam, but if you want to read in the right, some scholars don't regard this as fully 100% authentic. But just curiously, it still doesn't take anything away from the fact that Muhammad did recite to them Surah Jinn as well, which on its own still the absurdity remains.
Are we making a mockery, Abdullah Gondal?
We're just, it's, what else do you want us to do with this? Like,
take it seriously, I guess. We want to take it seriously. You
like,
can take it seriously if you want to.
Bizarre. It's just nonsense. It's bizarre nonsense. Like,
no. You're just being an arrogant atheist. This stuff makes perfect sense, dude. Submit to Allah, you arrogant
By
kafir.
the way, just to make a point though, mockery and blasphemy is sunnah, my bro. Don't you remember what Abraham did with the gods of Nimrud? He not only broke the idols, he then left the shaft from the biggest idol's hand and said, oh, ask him, he broke them. He was using mockery to convey a point, which is what I'm doing. I'm using Allah's technique, man.
This is sunnah of Allah. Never mind, yeah, Muhammad, right? Well, Abraham, I guess. Okay, next one. Yeah, so interactive jinn session. Okay, that was weird. Next one.
Genies come out when it's dark.
Oh, this is advice for today. Muslims, make sure you cover your utensils. I actually used to put a little piece of a spoon or something covering my food because then the jinn wouldn't eat it. Do you do that? Do you know that?
Oh man, that's not. I didn't do that. But this one is funny that genies just like steal things from humans. They're like pesky little thieves. But then why are they going so hard? They're like invisible. They can teleport. They can make things. So he says, cover your utensils, tie your water skins, and close your doors, and keep your children close to you at night, as the jinn spread out and at such time snatch things away. So jinns can kidnap kids after Maghrib. Be careful.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
When you go to bed, put out your lights. For the mischief doer, the rat may drag away the wick of the candle, burn dwells with the devils instead of the jinns. Point being that, yeah, jinns are stealing stuff, especially when it's dark, and they can snatch your kids away. Be careful.
And notice how he's blaming the candles starting fires. We should tell the World Wildlife Organization that this is the real reason why forest fires start. It's not because the fire, it spread. It's because of jinns, the naughty jinns, the naughty jinns.
Serious jinns, yeah.
Only you can prevent forest fires from jinns.
And we remember you talked about the jinns were camping out with the fires when Muhammad.
Hey? Yeah. So hold on, I want to share my screen. I think this is funny. Only you can prevent forest fires from jinns.
From jinns, okay.
Okay, so next slide.
Okay, this one we talked about the Medinan jinns, and you have to but this one, it doesn't matter. Yeah, killing snakes, okay. So if you see snakes 3 times, and then if it doesn't say, you can kill them. Okay, they're Genie snakes, okay? Be careful, guys.
This guy's hilarious, the doorknob head. These guys, genies, are big into stealing TV remotes and car keys. He's right. I can never find my TV remote. Usually it's my kids, but now I know it's not my kids.
Oh my God, I just had the biggest story coming. Just this memory popped up. So in my house, like, you forget these things everywhere, right? So we thought that these little jinns had stolen, and they hide them, and they play around, and they hide just to mess with us. So my mom went to a Pir Baba and asked him how to fix it. So he said that you write this name of Allah in the air with your fingers, and then the genies will see it, and they'll go away and stop teasing you. So I'm like, what? But like I said, there's these very weird, bizarre stories that take place, and these incidents, and they're abundant. Like, I have an auntie that found these this eggplant with 200 needles poked in it, and somebody threw it into her yard. Black magic. She thought it was a genie that brought it to her house.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about that.
Oh, this one, the Fight Club. Okay, so this hadith is interesting. So a strong demon and a Ifrit one time came to Muhammad yesterday. Suddenly, asked to spoil his salah. So he was giving too much waswasa to Muhammad. So Allah enabled Muhammad to overpower him. So I caught him and intended to tie him to one of the pillars of the mosque so that all of you might see him in the morning. But I remember the invocation of Solomon, and grant me a kingdom such as shall not belong to anybody after me. So I let him go. This makes no sense. And then the other version of the hadith said that Muhammad, I think, once his fist fighted him or choked him. There's a full-on like wrestling with this invisible genie at night in the mosque. And then he got him, and then he tied to the pillar or tried to tie him, but then he's like, nah, man, like if I tie him, it'll go against the Quranic verse that only Solomon can do it. So I'll just let him go. But I'll just tell the people that I fought this invisible genie, because they'll just believe me anyways. Why not?
Someone made a comment, if jinns have a biological body, I wish we see them in the zoo as well. And like I said, maybe there's a category on Pornhub for jinn sex. Like if this is real, like come on, like okay, fighting jinns. We kind of talked about this.
Yeah, like it's like when the wind is past, when it hears the adhan, it runs away, it comes back. Dr. Jonathan Brown mentioned that the passing of the wind is a euphemism or like a metaphor for like horses running really fast, and when they run really fast, they pass wind. The Satan runs fast or away. But then it still doesn't make sense, because the words in the adhan that scare the jinn and Satan away are repeated almost identically in the Iqamah and the Salah and Allahu Akbar and Durood and Auzu Billah and Quran recitation. You can recite Surah Baqarah. Well, it doesn't make sense. The jinn still stays in the Salah, but is scared of the adhan.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Doesn't make any sense. Okay.
So on the night of the jinns, narrated Abdul Rahman, I asked Masruq, who informed the Prophet about the jinns at the night when they heard the Quran? He said, your father. Abdullah informed me that a tree informed the Prophet about them. So think about this. This guy is alone, and he's not happy that he was pelted with stone and everybody keeps rejecting him. And then he said he hears trees talk to him, and then those trees are telling him that there's genies around here. Just imagine the layers upon layers of supernatural psychotic nonsense going on. Is talking trees, hanging out with genies, reciting Quran to genies. You can see the guy was having a trip. Anyways. Genies are handcuffed. Oh yeah, so there's many hadith. This one, just one out of the many. The Messenger of Allah said, on the first night of the month of Ramadan, the shayateen are shackled, the jinns are restrained. But this also, I assume this just applies to the evil jinns, because if the Muslim jinns get shackled, they can't fast. Or
Yeah, no, it says that shayateen. Yeah, and it said, what is it? Jinns are restrained. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I think it's
Yet most people leave Islam in, well, I don't know about most, but a lot of people leave Islam in Ramadan.
Yep. I actually left.
Oh, you too? I didn't know that.
Like Chandrat or something. I'm like, shit, I'm not gonna fast. I have too many doubts about that. Anyway, so summary of the jinns. Jinns are pre-Islamic concept. Jinns have religions. Jinns are invisible. Snakes can be jinns, rats can be jinns, jinns can whisper thoughts in your heads, hence schizophrenics might think they're possessed by genies. Shayateen jinns are handcuffed in Ramadan. Jinns can go to hell, jinns can possess us. Jinns can hear Allah's revelations but are chased by shooting stars. Donkeys bray and dogs bark when they hear shayateen. The jinns eat dung and bones and animal droppings. They can teleport. They can. They love construction projects. They fight in armies. They can fly. They can go to space. They have wings.
Is it ex-Muslim jinns?
Yeah, atheist jinns, man. I was thinking about it. We should actually do.
Not just atheist, ex-Muslim.
We should interview an ex-Muslim jinn, bro. He will spill out all the secrets of the jinn realm.
We should interview ex-Muslim jinn on our next show.
Actually, that could be a hilarious parody video, interviewing a jinn. Anyways, let's take a few calls.
So in conclusion, guys, be rational. Thanks for watching. Like, this is, we're trying our very best to help people to see that that's how ridiculous this whole thing is. And yeah, we're laughing and having fun along the way, because that just that demystifies the whole thing. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why mocking is haram, because mocking actually shows you in a way like nothing else does, that this is actually ridiculous. And it allows the thought process.
Mocking the Sunnah is only haram if it's against Islam.
Yeah, so I feel like there's definitely and Islam or Muhammad didn't want people to laugh at these things, because when you laugh at it, it just makes the whole thing look so absurd, right? When you take it seriously, it's like like the Yasakari said, the emperor without clothes. When nobody says this guy's naked, everybody's able to hold the image that, oh, this guy actually has clothes, until some little kid says, you're just naked, you're not wearing invisible clothes, and then everyone's like, oh my god, he's right, he's not wearing any clothes. But nobody wants to be the first one to say it. So the mocking, I think, if you don't like it, then just leave. It's up to you. Like, this is opt-in. We're not forcing anyone to watch this. We're asking you guys to take us, to look at our arguments, to look at the stuff we're bringing out. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't like it, then just leave. Don't watch this stuff.
One other thing I'd add is, like, mockery is not the way to go all the time. Like I said, there's, for different things and different concepts and ideas, you have to adapt a different approach. So when I'm talking about, let's say, Quranic preservation, I'm not going to be making Genie jokes. Or I'm talking about neuroscience of prophethood, I'm not going to be mocking him or make a style like we had in this conversation, right? Yeah. But like the Genie thing is just too freaking absurd, man. Like, you can't help yourself but laugh, right? So and the thing, as I said, mockery, according to Allah, if employed correctly, is a good tool to convey a point, like Abraham did. In fact, Muhammad used to mock the gods, like the Lat, Manat, Uzza, and their gods all the time. In fact, he broke the idols. Like, I mean, how much more disrespect do you want towards, But anyways, like,
yeah, like, you sent armies to break the idols. Never mind mocking. Like, give me a break. I mean, we're talking. I mean, if you put things in perspective, people are killed for mocking, and you guys are complaining about mocking. I mean, give me a break. Like, there's more important things to worry about. Like on one hand, they say you guys are irrelevant. Nobody, like, okay, so if it's relevant, then why is it bothering you? Just, like, leave us alone. And they're saying, oh, you leave us alone. But frankly speaking, we have got so much abuse in the last week, 2 weeks. It's absurd. Like, so many people are attacking me and you. It's like they've run out of arguments now. They don't have any sort of anything to do except mock us people and attack us, and her Sultan, his pictures of his sister and mother, and like.
Well, here's how I see it now. We're producing content, like we're doing presentations on neuroscience. We have a show going on. We're being nice. We're taking Muslim and ex-Muslim callers and atheists. We're doing so many different things and positive arguments. And we don't focus, I'm going to refute this guy. Oh, he's a fallacious, lying murtad or ex-Muslim. We don't obsess over personalities. We're discussing ideas. And our intention is to search the truth and not make it about egos. And that's the thing. So we're putting out these amazing content, and what we get in reply, oh, hey, you like period sex? You like donkey sex? Oh, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, okay, sure, keep going. You're reducing yourselves into trolls. You're accepting yourselves being trolls at this point, right? And that's the thing. And this is a very interesting pattern I've seen emerge, especially after this Quran saga, where to the point it's absurd. There's pictures of me, people making fun of my hair, my nose, putting donkey pictures, all sorts of absurd things. Like, and same with Samir, like making fun of his face, and my mustache, or calling us gay, as if that's an insult.
Yeah, there's definitely, they've definitely lowered the standards of, and it's not everybody for sure. Like, I mean, I feel grateful in a sense that at least there's been some sort of integrity with the old Dawah guys. Now the new ones, the young faceless Salafi trolls that are on YouTube, Twitter, and whatever, and these young Pakistani, edgy Pakistani Muslims, they think they're being so cool. I don't know. These guys seem to have no integrity whatsoever. At least the guys before, they would say, guys, don't make fun of his face, don't make fun of his wife.
That was 2 years ago. Like,
that was a couple of years ago. Now it's just like,
now it's like everything is fair game to these guys. Like, to the point where they're making memes about my wife, photoshopping her breasts and whatnot. It's absurd, like the level they've dropped down to. And then they focus on trivial side points. We're making arguments we're discussing ideas, their whole discourse has devolved into slander and oh, these guys, they're immoral, you can't take anything. It's just slander. It's character assassination. And it's bad on them, honestly. Like I said, that's that. What I wanted to do, if you have any callers, we can take a few calls and then we will call it a day because it's run for 2 hours.
Yeah, I gotta get going actually.
Okay, so what we'll do is we will end the show here, but thanks for joining us. It was an amazing conversation. We went through a lot of absurd ideas and things, and it's actually funny, like, I mean, in discussing the polls and stuff. I hope this conversation really, really helps people see that the ideas and the mythology that is part of Islamic literature is nothing but a human effort. It's an amalgamation of different ideas in pre-Islamic Arabia that were canonized into Islam officially under the guise of genies by Muhammad. The whole situation surrounding the genie story is bizarre as well, and how it was revealed. There's actually the fact that there's a whole chapter dedicated to genies in the Quran, and Muhammad is conversing with these invisible beings, bizarre on its own. So we also discussed about how ruqya and the misdiagnosis of mental illnesses is a problem in not only just the Islamic community, but in general too, in other communities, like exorcism of Emily Rose is one example too. And mental illnesses have been historically misdiagnosed and attributed to genies and stuff. And people end up, instead of getting the right proper care, they end up doing more harm than good when they start doing these ruqya things. So we talked about that. Then we had some weird superstitious stories from people, their personal stories, my personal stories as well. And then, yeah, we discussed a little bit about theology of Iblees and Satan. In the end, we see that we can make a comic book or a video game out of the concept of genies in Islam. Maybe in the next 10 years, who knows? We've already started having a series like the Jinn series on Netflix, I think, and the Messiah series on Netflix. So I think we're starting to see Islamic mythology being used in Hollywood as well, and this will be great to see. Anyways.
I was going to say, like, I really appreciate the Muslim callers who called in today. And I do think that this just makes the show that much more interesting. Obviously, we don't want trolls. And if you're going to be a troll, we're going to kick you out. But if you're going to engage with us, like on the topic especially, and you're not just going to here to poison the well and to make us look bad and to slander us, we are like happy to answer your questions, especially on the topic that we're discussing. And if you don't know the answer, I'll just say we don't know the answer. If you think I made a mistake, just point out where either of us made a mistake. We want to attack the religion on its strongest points. We're not here to make a straw man of Islam. We're trying to convey it the way it's believed by actual Muslims. And again, like that caller that said that not everybody believes in possession, that's great. I mean, the caller that said, well, in Pakistan people laugh at you if you say there's no such thing as possession. It's such an integral part of the society there, like the walls bleeding blood, and these things are common over there. Over here nobody talks about jinns. It's like if you tell someone you had a jinn experience, they look at you like you're crazy. Yeah. But they'll think, oh, this guy's a little nuts, talking about ghosts and jinns and stuff like that. And people here look at things differently. When something happens, they don't immediately jump on a jinn explanation. Like my cousin once told me, oh, the cat used to get in the house and she didn't know why. She thought it was a jinn. And that was my Muslim cousin. Now she's like probably thinking that was dumb of me to think that. But at that time, that's how she was thinking. She was thinking the cat was a jinn or something. It was a black cat.
Well, in Pakistan, we have this, there are cultural aspects of the jinn mythology too, where the female jinns are called chudail, witches, I would say to translate to. But the way to identify them is their feet are backwards. That's what my dad said. And he said, like, one day, like in the 80s, he was like bicycling and he was by graveyard night and he saw this person and he looked at her feet and they were backwards. So he biked as fast as he could. And this story's been, like, the idea of the backwards feet, the chudail, has been told to me by, any person I can think of. It's so commonly known.
Bro, like, I am so grateful that we don't think like that. Yeah. This is the greatest gift, God.
I mean, looking back at it, man, like, the universe used to believe this.
Yeah, universe or God or whatever. Like, we are so blessed that Like when we see things, we think about it rationally. We don't jump to these weird ideas. The world makes so much sense now. It's coherent. Like when somebody says, you know, near-death experiences or something, we come up with an explanation that makes sense. We don't have to come up with these weird beliefs that don't make any sense, like Adam and Eve, and, you know, they had incest, and, you know, the kids had incest. Like, it doesn't make, none of that makes sense. But when you look at evolution, you look at science, you look at physics, you look at biology, it all fits in so beautifully. If I can plug a book that I want to recommend that people read, it's called A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. It's a beautiful book that shows like how science developed, how humanity has discovered things over time. And I'm so grateful that we are not believing in this dumb dogma, that we're not wasting our lives. Like some people might think we're wasting our lives doing this, but we love this. We're doing this as, this is a joy for us. We're doing this as long as we want to do this. And if we don't want to do this, we won't do it. For now, we're going to do it. Maybe in 10 years, we'll be doing something else. Maybe we won't. God knows, you know, there's, God knows. But you know, it's a joy. Like we do this because we love humanity. We want to give back something. We don't want anyone else to make the same mistake that we made. We don't want anyone else to invest the time, energy, and dedication to a false God that doesn't exist, that's not going to reward you, that's not going to punish you. Like, live your life, you know. And this is my message. That's what I want to conclude with.
And also, yeah, stop being scammed by these peer babas who claim to take genies out and give you these weird concoctions. They're only trying to sell you absolute nonsense and stuff. And they charge you a lot. Like I said, there was a whole controversy surrounding the Ruqya services from Hasanat overcharging this famous YouTuber that hangs up with Adam Saleh or something. I forgot his name, but Slim or something. Anyways, yeah, like there's a lot of you can get scammed into this, and you can lose a lot of money. And you might end up paying $10,000 to this Ruqya guy, and all you needed to do was go to the neurologist, and he'll give you an antipsychotic that'll cost you $100 and you're fine.
And some of these things, unfortunately, they're not fixable. Like the Pir Usman guy, I had a guy contact me after I made that video that said he's been going for his kids for autism to this Pir Usman guy. What he does, Pir Usman guy, whatever, what's his name? Usman.
Pir Usman Ghani, I think.
Yeah, whatever his name is, Ghani, rich, haha, hilarious. He does it for free. And you go to him, and then, you know, at some point they transfer you over to one of his minions in the locality that you live, and then you don't see Pir Usman anymore. You see this guy, and you have to keep going, and that's when you start charging money. And this guy said he's been going for his kids for autism, and it's not doing any, like, no shit. That's a neurological condition that cannot be cured. There's no cure for autism. Like, that's just a wiring of your brain. You have to live with it. There's no fucking cure. And these people are being milked by these scam. That's the worst part of this whole thing, I think. It's just then when these people take advantage of naive people, and they some of them think they're getting better, and then they don't get better, they get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst of this whole thing. Do you want to add any more final comments, and then we'll just end it?
I think our everything that needs to be said on the topic has been said. I hope just people really sit down and think about how ridiculous the concept of genies is, and how it just shows that this is all made up nonsense. That's it for me. Until next week and the next episode, we will join you. But if you have any suggestions for what you want to talk about, let us know. We can discuss another lighthearted topic like this, or we can go deep dive into something more deeper and more exotic. So let us know. But until from my side, Science Hafiz.
Science Hafiz. Bye.